Good morning, 5 o'clock. Now I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, hottest weather in months coming this weekend. Partial sunshine today, tomorrow, and Sunday, and high temps in the low 80s today, but the mid to upper 80s for the weekend. Well, an unexpectedly early morning glitch at a Wedgwood, Houston construction site.
We have a Waymo driverless vehicle that has just blown through our site and is parked right in the middle of our zone, and we can't get it to move.
That is a contractor named Kurt Owens in a call to police. Now, before he was rerouted to Waymo's help desk. Eventually, that driverless car found its way out of the situation and out of their construction site, but not before causing a big delay. Waymo says it trains first responders on how to disengage those autonomous features if there is an emergency. And in a statement to WSMV4, Waymo said in part, "We know that seeing new technology can feel novel at first. Once people experience the technology in action, they quickly come to value the safety and convenience Waymo brings to the road." They didn't address that situation, however. Lawmakers met in Washington yesterday. They were trying to come to an agreement on funding for DHS, but Democrats continued to refuse to budge, leaving TSA workers swaying in the wind on getting paid. And more of them have now walked off the job, leaving airports with 3-hour security lines. Well, now there's more chaos after a close call at a major airport.
Authorities are trying to determine what led to a near miss over Newark Airport. An Alaska Airlines jet coming in for a landing nearly collided with a FedEx cargo plane, also attempting to land. Air traffic control telling the Alaska pilot to go around. Flight radar 24 shows the two planes approaching intersecting runways, coming dangerously close before the Alaska jet pulls up and passes over the FedEx plane with only about 300 feet of separation.
ABC's Nicole D'Antonio there. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Major market indexes were down slightly after a late day bounce out of an opening, though, when oil reached $119 a barrel. The Dow down 203 points, the S&P lost 18, and the Nasdaq dropped 62. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the U.S. may lift sanctions on Iranian oil in a bid to lower prices driven up by the war in Iran. Bessent told Fox Business that the lifted sanctions would apply to about 140 million barrels already on the water. The Trump administration has also eased sanctions on some Russian oil shipments for 30 days to boost global oil supplies. The CEO of Live Nation Entertainment took the stand at a New York antitrust trial Thursday. Michael Rapino faced questioning from attorneys representing nearly 36 states, accusing the company of controlling the concert industry.
That's ABC's Michelle Franzen. Stock futures all pointing down this morning. Dow futures minus 130. That's the latest news. Traffic is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Wow, no delays that I'm seeing on the road so far this morning on 65, on 40, or on 24. Happy Friday. That is traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to make sure, Joan, that we get in a little bit of a weather forecast because we're talking about today highs near 80. That's what I'm seeing. But on Saturday and Sunday, we are talking about a high of 82 and, oh, my Lord, 85 degrees on Sunday.
Yeah, so Stefano said, it could be even upper 80s closing in on 90 in some spots. Yeah. It's crazy how quick that changed.
Yeah. All right. So is that the official WTN forecast? Is highs near 90?
What we're saying mid to upper 80s.
To upper 80s.
Yeah, that's called safe language.
That is for a weather person, that is absolutely safe language. Mid to upper 80s. All right. Very good. Thank you, Joan Jones, who is broadcasting from home today. Do you miss the Wally's Bean Machine coffee?
Well, listen, I have an espresso maker.
You've got your own highfalutin coffee out there. I know.
But I do miss Wally's. I mean, I could probably do it, but I don't know how to make that amazing vanilla coffee with espresso and milk. It's whatever that is so amazing.
Absolutely.
And I don't know how to do that.
Well, we miss your shiny face around here. Coming up, did you see, I'm going to do this in about 2 minutes. But did you see what Donald Trump did yesterday?
Oh, during
during the press briefing when they asked him about notifying other countries regarding going into Iran? I've got that audio straight ahead, but I do want to make sure that I get the breaking news first. This was Donald Trump. Yesterday, he did ask about ground troops in Iran.
Potentially put U.S. troops or more troops in the region.
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you, but I'm not putting troops, and we will do whatever is necessary to keep the price as low. I actually thought when I did this, look, the Dow just hit 50,000 a couple of weeks ago. They said that couldn't happen for 4 years. It wouldn't happen in my term. It's such an outrageous thing because I said it would happen. I didn't know it was going to happen that fast, but it just hit 50,000.
Yep, so that is Donald Trump. And by the way, we are doing video for, I think, almost, if not all, of the audio that I'm playing on the radio today. You can watch us live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, 997WTN.com, among others. And you can check out the show any time of the day. So that is President Trump talking about how we will not be putting any ground troops in Iran. So we do have that part of the conversation. One of the interesting sort of side notes about all of that is that Benjamin Netanyahu is saying that we do need ground troops in Iran. So it'll be interesting to see. All these people are screaming about how the Israelis and Benjamin Netanyahu are the ones that actually control our foreign policy. This was Benjamin Netanyahu. This was yesterday, as he is advocating for ground troops in Iran.
It is often said that you can't do revolutions from the air. That is true. You can't do it only from the air. You can do a lot of things from the air, and we're doing, but there has to be a ground component as well. There are many possibilities for this ground component, and I take the liberty of not sharing with you all those possibilities.
So there you are. Benjamin Netanyahu says we need ground troops, and Donald Trump says we don't. So you know what's going to happen, right? If we end up putting in ground troops in Iran, the crap is going to hit the fan, and people are going to say, see, we told you Israel is controlling our foreign policy. Israel dragged us into this war. So we'll have to see ultimately where it goes. Remember, we have the Kurds, by the way. Remember I told you this a while ago? We have the Kurds, Western Iran. They were going to take up arms against the Islamic Revolutionary Guard in Iran. We've been sending them arms because that always works out well. But, that's the reporting. So, but now the latest on this, because I was wondering, where the hell are all those damn Kurds? I mean, I thought they were going to, go in and take on the Iranian army in ground, in a ground surge. Well, apparently there are various Kurdish factions that are now arguing over whether or not they should take up America's fight, and I'm air quoting this, America's fight. And you knew that was going to happen, right? Because all of these various, groups in the Middle East, there's different factions, right? So the Kurds are no different. They have various factions within the Kurdish community, if you will. And so you have all of these various factions, and they're battling over what to do. Right now, they're living in Western Iran. They hate Iran's government, the ones that live in Iran. But again, there's all of these various factions within the Middle East. But that's percolating as well. So for me, this whole thing is fascinating. We'll have to see where it goes. We do have some breaking news, by the way, and this is the headline from the Daily Mail, and it is a screaming headline, as a matter of fact. Apparently, we are now engaged in, and I got to get to the Daily Mail. U.S. opens new front in battle to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know if you saw this, Joan, but they're saying that jets are now obliterating Iranian ships and taking down drones.
I thought they obliterated all of them already and that they were at the bottom of the sea.
Thank you, Joan. That was the first thing that I thought of. It's like, we keep hearing that we're obliterating everything only to find some of these ships non-obliterated and still floating.
Well, what these are the ships that lay the mines.
Yeah.
So what they have obliterated are the military ships, the ships carrying oil, but the ones that have been, taking these mines and placing them and scaring everyone from even entering the Strait of Hormuz, they're the ones being targeted now.
Yep. They say this is the headline. Donald Trump has called for U.S. forces to open a new front in Iran as jets pound Iranian ships in an all-out battle to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. I think, didn't I say yesterday we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way? I think I did say that. And apparently Iran has chosen to do this the hard way. Global fuel supplies have been under intense pressure because of Iran's stranglehold on the strait. American forces have sent low-flying A-10 Warthogs and Apache attack helicopters to shoot at Iranian ships and drones. They're saying the Pentagon is trying to nullify danger from Iranian weapons and reopen the strait, which has only seen about 90 ships cross since the war began. Have you seen, Joan or Sam, it's like a map of the Strait of Hormuz, and the little dots are where all the ships are? And, yeah, and all the ships are, you see the little sliver that is the Strait of Hormuz, and all the ships are on either side of the Strait of Hormuz afraid to go through. And so this is the president now. If we are, and Joan, you hit the nail on the head. We keep hearing about how we are obliterating all of these ships, but there's still more ships, right? So if this is an all-out war to reopen a new front, as they say, to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and it doesn't get reopened, I think that's going to be a big victory for Iran. So we'll have to see if this is ultimately successful. Air Force General and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Raisin Kane, said the mission is taking the attack ships to the southern Iranian coast, saying the A-10 Warthog is now engaged across the southern flank, targeting fast attack watercraft in the Strait of Hormuz. Because remember, that fast attack watercraft was going after the ships. And these ships they're not able to get insurance. That's the problem. The problem is that there's all these drones flying around. There's these fast attack watercraft that have also been going after the oil tankers. And so these ships now are not able to get insurance, and that's why they can't sail through the Strait of Hormuz. The Apaches have joined the fight on the southern flank, and they're still asking for the Allies' help. And by the way, I don't know if you saw this, But the allies, I'm going to just put that in air quotes, but the allies are now saying that they've signed a declaration, if you will, that they are now, I'm trying to figure out what the hell this means. Maybe you know, Joan, maybe you know, Sam, but they're basically saying that they have signed this document where now they are considering, under the right circumstances, to help the United States to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. So it's not like a yes, we are going to help. It's kind of like we're going to consider helping under the right circumstances. So it doesn't really sound like much to me, but others are making a big deal out of it. 5 European countries, the UK, France, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands, plus Japan, signed a letter on March 19th saying they are ready to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage. But they make note to say this is not a commitment to deploy ships immediately. It is more of a diplomatic signal that they might help once conditions are safer. So it doesn't really, I mean, I don't know, Joan, does that sound like much of a commitment to you?
No.
It kind of, you know what it sounds like to me? And so this all sort of, I don't know, plays out. So it seems to me like what Trump is now trying to do with the more obliteration is he's trying to make the Strait of Hormuz safer by taking out these watercraft and the drone ships and the mining ships and all these. And so he's trying to take all those out. So then the 5 European countries that I just mentioned and Japan will then join in the keeping of the Strait of Hormuz safe. Does that make sense? Because they're saying, you know what, once conditions are safer, we'll jump in. So Trump is trying to take out all of these, watercraft and so forth so that it is safer for the European countries plus Japan to jump in. Maybe that's what's going on. But I love that he's doing this. I mean, here's the deal. We're either in this to win it quickly or it's going to be a really long, drawn-out fight. We're already in the fight, so let's do whatever the hell it is that we need to do to get this taken care of. And the conversation about ground troops, that is going to be a big one today. As a matter of fact, I was just on CNN, and they led with the ground troop controversy, I guess. We'll have to see where that all plays out. I like how Donald Trump said, you know, if I was going to put ground troops in, I sure as heck wouldn't tell you, right, talking to the media. Now, I love this audio bite. Joni, you actually told me about this earlier this morning. Yours truly went to bed very early yesterday, so I missed this part of the conversation. But this is Donald Trump. You could say, Joan, this is Donald Trump at his absolute finest or his absolute worst. Would you say this is Trump at his finest or his worst?
I think it's at his finest. Personally, I don't think everybody's going to feel the same way as me.
Let me pick a beautiful-looking
This
person.
is, hold on, this is Donald Trump.
That was another funny part of it. He wanted a beautiful-looking Japanese person to ask a question.
Yeah, he did. All right, here we go. This is I'm having some minor technical issues in here. I'm trying to navigate through all of this, but I think I've got it settled down now. This is Donald Trump. Listen to the heading into the question, then the actual question, and Donald Trump's response as he's speaking to the Japanese media.
Let me pick a beautiful-looking person from Japan. A question for the Prime Minister. Go ahead. Yeah, sure. Oh, he doesn't believe he's beautiful. Oh, he's sounding shy. Go ahead, please.
Of course, now Japan and US are very good friends. But one question: why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
All right, so if you didn't catch that, he's asking the very soft-spoken Japanese reporter.
Well, we can't gloss over the fact that he also, makes that joke about a beautiful Japanese person, and everyone would insinuate that Trump's about to pick a female. Then he picks a guy.
Yes.
And look at him, he doesn't think he's beautiful.
He's got a nice pink tie on.
I think he looks fine.
Anyway, so real men can wear pink. Anyway, moving right along from there. So he asked, why didn't you warn the allies in Japan why you were about to go into the war? Donald Trump's response is priceless.
One thing you don't want to signal too much, you know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? You know?
Now, you'll notice it gets deathly quiet in the room.
All of the air has been sucked out of there.
I mean, the silence, there's this like sort of awkward laughter at first, and then dead silence, and the Japanese prime minister, who is kind of a rock star. I mean, he really likes the Japanese prime minister, which is, I believe,
she's a literal rock star.
She is. She's a drummer. And so Trump says this, and she's kind of looking at him. I don't know, Joan, would you say that she kind of gives him the side eye?
Yeah, well, obviously she had somebody translating that for her. Maybe she was wearing headphones. I couldn't really tell, like earphones, but somebody had to translate that for her. So there was a bit of a delay as he was saying it. And then it was like, oh boy, here we go.
And then Trump just kind of starts. I think the president realized that he said something incredibly awkward, and he then starts sort of chuckling about the whole thing. Here's the rest of the audio in the video.
Go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? You know, he's asking me, now you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And
he knows that he's made it awkward. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I would posture is the men in the room, regardless of whether they're American or Japanese, they're about to uproar, and then they realize that there's a bunch of women in the room, and they can't be morbidly dark humor. Like, I hear what's about to ramp up as laughter, then everyone kind of checks themselves and pulls it back down.
Is that do you find that's a gender thing, Joan?
No, I didn't find it to be a gender thing.
I didn't find it to be a gender thing either. I mean, respectfully, I just
listen to the laughs, and they're all
men.
Seeing
they're
it,
all
yeah,
male.
you're hearing it.
You hear a woman
kind of
go, "Oh," in the background.
You know what? You are right on that, Sam. And when she said, "Oh," everything stopped.
Yep.
I don't know who the woman was, but maybe it was. Hold on, let me.
Maybe it was a
rewind.
translator.
How do you translate? Like, oh crap! What did he say into Japanese?
right?
Here, let me. I can't. I'm doing this stupid. Let me see.
Surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right?
You know what, Joan? I think Sam might have a point.
Yeah.
Sam
the
might
only
have a
female
point.
that I hear back there is somebody going,
Sam might have a point.
She probably said,
ああ、くだらない。
"That's oh crap."
Oh, is that oh crap in
That's
Japan?
crap. Japanese.
Japan.
Got it. Anyway, so Trump then tries to fill the air back up in the room because the air has been let out.
Me about Pearl Harbor. Okay? Right? You know, he's asking me, now you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise.
I think that's my favorite moment from yesterday. I do. And I don't know what I like more about that audio. Because I'm let's be honest, I tell some really bad jokes, and I've been met with complete silence. So I can actually, from you two, I can tell when I can relate to Donald Trump there. Because he says the joke, there's the initial, oh my God, what did he say, laughter? And then there's the silence, and nobody knows what to do. And then Trump is kind of looking around the room like, I thought it was funny.
See,
The
I'm on
only
the
thing that's missing from there is moving on.
See, I sympathize because he got to that point and he just couldn't resist.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna say it.
I'm going to do it. There was a moment, I'm not gonna put people through playing it one more time, but you can tell when he's answering the initial question, he pauses a little bit, and you can tell he's thinking, do I say this? And he just went ahead and went for it. And again, I think it was funny. Joan thinks it's funny, and she's a female, but she's an American female. And but
See, I was just worried he was about to segue into something even, you didn't tell us about Pearl Harbor. We didn't tell you about Fat Boy.
Who's Fat Boy?
The bomb.
yeah. Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah. I thought he was about to go there.
I thought that's what he was going to go to as well.
Oof.
Like when he said, talked about surprises, I thought he was going to say, well, we didn't tell you about Nagasaki or Hiroshima.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
that would
thought
not be
that's where he
nice.
was going.
Ooh, no.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, way to go. It is at 5:26 on Super Talk 99.7. Margaret Brennan coming up at 5:35. I believe that Margaret Brennan has really stepped in it because she is, it would seem anyway, to be criticizing Pete Hegseth for praying for the troops. We'll talk about that straight ahead. It is 5:27. Joan was coming up in the news at 5:30.
Yeah, coming up here, we'll take a look at the U.S. aiming on those mine-laying vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Also, the search is now over for a missing University of Alabama student. A sad end here. We've got those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning, 531. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Partial sunshine near 80 today, and then downright hot this weekend with temps in the mid to upper 80s and plenty of sunshine all weekend long. The Pentagon is zeroing in on mine-laying vessels that are helping Iran keep a stranglehold over the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian drones, meantime, are targeting a Kuwaiti oil refinery this morning. Iran's new supreme leader, the Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, is given credit for a statement this morning that says Iran's enemies need to have their security taken away. Now, he hasn't been seen since being named to replace his father, who was killed in an Israeli attack.
Israel and Iran again trading airstrikes amid growing fears over a global energy crisis. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu now saying he will not attack Iran's oil and gas facilities again for now. President Trump has said he didn't know in advance about Israel's strike on Iran's key gas field that triggered the escalation.
ABC's Patrick Reevell reporting in Doha. Now the search is on for a man who is missing from Lebanon. 57-year-old James Whitaker, last seen in the South College Street area yesterday afternoon. He is a black man, 6'1", weighing 225 pounds, and possibly wearing black jeans, a black shirt, and a black beanie hat. Anybody with information is asked to call the Lebanon police. Meantime, the body of a missing University of Alabama student has been found in the coastal waters of Barcelona. 20-year-old Jimmy Gracie went missing while on spring break this week.
The 20-year-old from Illinois was visiting friends during their spring break. On Monday night, they went to Choco, one of Barcelona's famous beachfront nightclubs. Gracie was last seen around 3 a.m. His family said police first found his phone nearby and later his wallet floating in the sea. Police scoured this neighborhood. His friends put up posters and held on to hope.
That is ABC's Maggie Ruley reporting. That is the latest news. We've got your traffic next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Got an accident south on 65 this morning. It's at the Due West Avenue overpass in Madison, and traffic's pretty slow around it. Otherwise, on the majors heading in, looking pretty good so far this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.538 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Dan Mandis here along with Sam Rutherford producing. Joan Jones is at home in her news pajamas. And
Betcha.
And I am here. All right, so real quick. Pete Hegseth, and Joan, you may have to fill in some blanks for me here, but Pete Hegseth, he prayed for the troops. This was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I've got the video, got the audio. Here you go.
And I say the same to every American who wants peace through strength. May Almighty God continue to bless our troops in this fight. And again, to the American people, please pray for them. Every day, on bended knee, with your family, in your schools, in your churches, in the name of Jesus Christ.
So that's Pete Hegseth. And I guess Margaret Brennan from CBS. So she publishes on her X this. The Secretary of Defense tells the American public to pray for our troops on bended knee and invoke Jesus' name. ...
Oh, it's the ellipses. They always get you.
So what was she saying? Like, is she complaining that the Secretary of Defense is asking the American people to pray?
It's the dots implicate, like, here's my eyebrows raising. He wants us to pray? She should have put a question mark after it. That's what she's saying.
You know what? Here, okay, I'm going to say two things because I'm just responding or reacting to this now. I would say to Margaret Brennan, if you've got something to say, have the balls to say it.
Yeah.
Right? Don't just the dots. That's an indicator of raising of eyebrows. Whatever. If you've got something to say it. Daily Mail puts it this way. It remains unclear what exactly offended the star. I don't know if Margaret Brennan's a star, but whatever. The internet's reaction was quick and pronounced. Pastor turned podcaster Josh Howerton. If this seems even mildly controversial, I would legitimately blow your mind to read what the men who founded our nation did, said, and prayed in the name of Jesus Christ while governing. Jerry Dunleavy, who is a conservative journalist. What's with the ... dots at the end of this? Presidents and military leaders have throughout American history asked for public prayers for our troops in harm's way. I mean, Joe Biden, to his credit, always said, pray for our troops. So I don't know what the
White House rapid response account.
Okay.
Responded, yes, and
right.
only a leftist, in quotes, reporter would be offended by praying for our troops.
Yeah, I think even the Washington Post says this. Jonathan Pino of the Washington Post, I pray for our troops in Jesus' name. I'm not special. It's fairly common. So I don't know what Margaret Brennan, you know how we have always talked about, Joan, about how Trump derangement syndrome, it exposes journalists and it exposes people at their irrational worst.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened with Margaret Brennan, because there's absolutely nothing wrong in a time of war when we're actually talking about possibly putting ground troops into Iran. There's nothing wrong with saying, pray for our troops and get on bended knee and all the stuff that Hegseth said.
Do you know who Riley Podleski is?
No.
Riley Podleski is an assistant press secretary at the DOD. And she said the mainstream media forgot their own history. George Washington prayed at Valley Forge for his army's survival. Franklin D. Roosevelt wrote a message and included it in pocket New Testaments that were given to the U.S. troops during World War II. General Patton gave every Third Army soldier a weather prayer card before the Battle of the Bulge, and the skies cleared soon after. Margaret, you can't change the heritage of our nation or the culture of our military.
Oh, just also the hypocrisy. She's apparently Catholic. So, like, I don't... You know, demons do get rather annoyed when you invoke the name of Jesus. They can't contain themselves, and we saw it with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It was very apparent the evil that is spiritually here in the world. But apparently she's married to a Muslim man.
Oh, she is?
Yes.
She's got a spouse problem, too.
He's a Syrian-American attorney and a major in the U.S. Marine Corps. No. So I don't... So... Okay, after reading that, I'm even more upset. Why are you upset that someone's praying for the troops when literally your husband has served this country?
Right. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, again, it's the demons.
Well, and again, do you know what the thing is? Part of the annoyance here is the dots, right? Yep. Because what did you mean to say here? Can you, Sam, can you see if that is still on her Twitter? Because I'm looking at some of this stuff. She is getting obliterated.
Oh, yeah, the Daily Beast has a whole article about how Trump goons have attacked a journalist.
Trump goons?
Yeah.
My friend Eric Erickson, who is a talk show host, he says she thinks this is controversial. Yeah. Others, there are about 160 million to 230 million Christians in the country. Not sure why invoking Jesus' name would be scandalous to anyone, but a very small slice of the media. So I'm genuinely curious if she deleted this post, or if she maybe expounded or expanded upon said post. What were you going to say, Joan?
I don't know. I was flipping through some stuff here. That was the Daily Beast that said MAGA goons.
MAGA goons.
Yeah, that was the Daily Beast. And I would expect nothing less.
Yeah, no, I would expect nothing less from the Daily Beast as well. So, yeah, I mean, again, TDS really just these people give in to their natural instincts, and she just I believe that she really stepped in it. I think more people
I don't see it on her Twitter feed.
I think more people, if you did a snap poll of the American people, I think more people would be really upset with what she said than what Pete Hegseth did.
No, it's still up.
Is it still
there?
Yeah, I searched in her posts the word pray, and it's the top result. The Secretary of Defense, which isn't his title, Secretary of War, tells the American public to pray for our troops on bended knee and invoke Jesus' name, ... Has over 1.1 million views.
Oh, yeah.
506 reposts, like that. People even understand what they're sharing.
Right.
She also wrote 22 hours ago. Now, she posted Pete Hegseth accusing Iran of exporting a violent messianic Islamist ideology, chasing some sort of apocalyptic endgame. That's what he said, right? So she reposted that. And her comment was, the religious references as justification for war continue, ...
What is wrong with that? Wow. We're going into war. We're doing this so that Iran will not get nuclear weapons, right? Donald Trump has said that over and over and over again. I don't know. She is just a freak of nature. Like, I don't know what is wrong with her, but...
Have you ever watched the show? Like, we used to interview her all the time.
I only do clips, man. I only do clips. I couldn't stand an entire 30 minutes or 60 minutes of her. Well, you tell me about it.
Yeah, we would interview her every week before the show to find out what she had coming up in the show this weekend. That was one of our things to do when we were when I was in D.C. And she is as dry and humorless a person as I have ever known in my life.
Really?
Like, has absolutely no... It's almost like she's devoid of any emotional input whatsoever.
She's like a drone.
Yeah, she is like a drone.
Or what would you call cyborg? Is that what you call him?
Yeah.
Cyborg?
What?
Would you call him a cyborg? Is that what a cyborg is? A drone emotionalist?
No, well, cyborg technically would mean the blending of human and robot. So
Well, maybe she's more robot than human. Whatever. Anyway, all right.
I think she has too much Islamist in her.
People are lighting her up in the replies because the tweet only has 1.4 thousand likes, but it's got 3.7 thousand replies to it.
Do you know what? Yeah. Do you do on X? Because I post on X, but I don't really watch X all that much. So they don't have dislikes on X, do they?
They don't have what?
Dislikes, like thumbs down.
No,
do they do that on
X?
Yeah,
you can only give it a heart.
Can you imagine if there were dislikes on X?
So someone has pointed this out. In the history of your account since 2009, you have mentioned Jesus only once, and that is today. You are a demon.
Oh!
Who wrote that?
That was a lady named Bliss. Josh Howerton responded to this post. If it seems even mildly controversial, it would legitimately blow your mind to read what the men who founded our nation did, said, and prayed in the name of Jesus Christ while governing.
That's what you had that, Dan, right?
Yeah. I mean, people are just
lighting her up.
Yeah, J.D. Vance memes out the walls. I don't really care, Margaret.
That's right, because when he was being interviewed by her, she asked him something, and that was basically one of his responses.
Yeah.
We have a request. We have a request, Joan.
Yeah.
I used to do this thing a long time ago. You pick the topic. And somebody has sent in a request to the super text line, 615-737-9986, asking for intel on the Rutherford County Library Director, who is apparently refusing to remove 190 children's books. So
it's not remove them.
It's move them to the adult section.
Yeah.
So, and they're saying that this is going to put her job at risk. Basically what happened is you had the Rutherford County Library, what do you call it, the library board?
Yeah.
And so there's 190 books that were LGBTQ whatever. They wanted them out of the kids section and put into the adult section. Very simple. It's all you got to do.
Yeah, and if you want your kid to read that book, you can walk them over to the adult section.
And the adult can check it out, and you can bring it home. So apparently, though, she is refusing to do that. The library board voted earlier this week to relocate the books, citing concerns about content, including LGBTQIA themes. Board members said the decision is about age appropriateness and not banning books. In an email to board members, she says, and her name is Luann James, she says that she is ethically bound to uphold the First Amendment. She argues that relocating the books would restrict access to information and violate the community's rights. The disagreement comes after months of debate over what materials should be available to children in public libraries.
Well, this comes after, who is it, Trey Hardy? Who's the state?
Trey,
I should have known what I was going to say before I opened my mouth. Not Trey Gowdy.
No.
The Secretary of State, who...
Trey Hargett? Is it? It's not
Trey Hargett,
Is it Trey Hargett? Oh, yeah, Trey Hargett.
So he sent a letter to all the school board systems and all the library system and said, hey, look, we got to do something about this because there's too many books on the shelves that kids can get their hands on. And it wasn't an order, but it was a do something or we're going to start taking a look.
Yeah, it's a shot across the bow.
Yeah. And this was their response to, instead of removing it, they said, okay, well, we'll put it in the adult section so that if parents want to check it out, they can.
The First Amendment doesn't even apply, by the way. It's not speech. It's text. Text is the most filtered and scrutinized source of media in the country, and no one's right to speak about it is being violated because it's moved to a different section.
Well, that's it. Well, wouldn't this be akin to you can't yell fire in a crowded theater? All they're doing is they're saying this can't be here. It's going to be over there, a few aisles.
But she's implying that 6- and 7-year-olds have First Amendment rights to read books.
Right, which, I mean, they don't have the right. The parents are the ones to decide. So
But the board decided. The board said that this is not appropriate material, so you can't access it without the approval of an adult.
Their parents. So if, as I said minutes ago, if you want to get this for your kids, knock yourselves out and bring it home. And we'll judge you. Let's see here. Rutherford County Library Alliance member Tatiana Silvas called the decision an act of patriotism, saying that the library director is standing up for the rights of library patrons and the broader community. No, she's not. What are you, dumb?
No.
You can order these books too.
Do you know what? You know what, Sam? That is such a great point, because they get all wrapped up in knots on this stuff, right? So all you got to do is order it online, order it on Amazon, or march your sorry butt into the adult section, get it there, check it out, take it home, and let your kids read the book there. That's all you got to do.
Or you can publicly display that you believe children should be exposed to sexually explicit material, which I think some of us in the general public wouldn't mind knowing who is a little screwy in the head. We would like to be
not
aware.
To send your kids home, to their friend's house.
Exactly. So if you want to take that book and read it with your child in public so we can all, get a good judgment and assessment of you, I'm all for it.
At least one board, this is so dumb. At least one board member who voted against relocating the books, telling News 2 the director is acting on principle. Well, so are we. Kids should not have access to that crap. See what I did there?
Do you remember?
The director, by the way, real quick, Joan, is willing to face the consequences. So I hope that she does. Go ahead, Joan.
Yeah, Sam, you said a couple of moments ago that the demons are going wild, and I think that that's what's happening here in Rutherford County.
Which is sad. I appreciated going to my local library as a kid. I appreciated the librarian having things, getting to know me, and hey, I've got these new comics in it, or this book that I think you might want to read. That was awesome. But to see what it's become, and these people think that they are somehow the last line of the federal government has not stepped in and said, under no circumstances whatsoever can you bring these books to your child.
No, nobody's burning books here.
Yeah, there's not an actual
Exactly.
ban. They are just placing
They're
considerate
available
restrictions.
anywhere you want, except on the kids' shelf.
8969, by the way. All right, we're done with this. 8969 says Margaret, because Margaret Brennan, that's a much, I like this story, is calling Margaret Brennan a sociopath. Does she sound like a sociopath?
She looks dead behind the eyes, if I'm being honest.
Oh, you know what? Dislikes are coming to Twitter, according to Elon Musk.
Oh, how about that?
God bless that
can
man.
you imagine?
Hold on. Sociopath is a person who exhibits antisocial behavior characterized by a lack of empathy, manipulation, and a disregard for social norms. Yeah, I think that applies.
Okay.
What?
So you're welcome, 3921, who wanted us to cover this topic.
I think the best response is, well, quite frankly, Margaret, I don't give a damn.
There you go. All right. Well,
Boom.
You know what? It'll be interesting to see. When did she make that post? Obviously yesterday at some point.
22 hours ago.
Yeah.
22 hours ago.
Both of the posts. There were two posts that were anti-faith, and she made them 22 hours ago.
7692 says, these transplants moving to Tennessee are trying to change our principles, indicating perhaps that the library director is a transplant. I don't know if that's the case or not. She could be from Rutherford County, for all I know.
I've noticed a trend that, especially with older generations that are native Tennesseans, their young kids get off to college, get indoctrinated, come home, and then indoctrinate the parents.
You know what? Why don't we see? Let's, Sam, if you could, look up the librarian and see if we can figure out where she's from, because I'm not one to sit here and say, oh, there's darn people coming from, because I'm from California and I'm certainly not a liberal, so I'm not ready to throw this whole thing into the bucket of, well, it's all these darn transplants. We don't know if it's transplants or not, so I'd be interested to see if she is actually a transplant. Anyway, we'll see what we can find out about the librarian. It is 5:57, running late. Joan's got the news coming up. Joan.
Yeah, coming up here at 6, the Pentagon wants more money, a whole lot of money. And we'll take a closer look, too, at that Rutherford County Library Director. It's coming up here at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And as we've been talking about, the director of the Rutherford County Library System facing possible termination after she refused to comply with the board's decision to relocate 132 books. Now, you'll remember last week, the library system agreed to shift the inappropriate books from the children's section to the adult section. These are LGBTQ themed books. Well, now Luan James said in a letter to the board this week that she is ethically bound to uphold the First Amendment, and moving those books, she said, would violate that right for all county citizens.
Within an hour of her making that statement, the library board of directors chair called for a special meeting on this. Cody York says the executive director's refusal to implement a lawful directive of the Rutherford County Library Board constitutes insubordination, and that this warrants serious disciplinary consideration.
That is Channel 4's Jeremy Finley there. Now, the meeting where her future is decided takes place on March 30th at 5 p.m. at the Rutherford County Historic Courthouse, and that meeting will be open to the public. Congress could soon be asked to send billions of dollars to the Pentagon to pay for the war in Iran.
The Pentagon preparing to ask Congress for an additional $200 billion to fund the war in Iran. A massive number Secretary Pete Hegseth says might not even be final.
I think that number could move, obviously. It takes money to kill bad guys.
The request comes 3 weeks into the war. The Pentagon says the first week alone cost more than $11 billion.
ABC's Mary Bruce. Wartime supplementals are used to ensure the military remains ready to handle other potential conflicts and to replenish stockpiles spent on the ongoing mission. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Surging oil prices stemming from the war in the Persian Gulf snuffed out any hopes for a stock market rally Thursday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell another 200 points and closed just above 46,000. The S&P and NASDAQ each gave up 0.25%. FedEx surprised the market with a strong fiscal third quarter. The delivery company previously said it was hoping to cut $1 billion in costs by leveraging automation and artificial intelligence. Unilever, the conglomerate behind products as diverse as Dove soap and Hellmann's mayonnaise, may be trying to exit the food business altogether. The Wall Street Journal reports that Unilever is in talks to combine its food brands with the spice maker McCormick. More Americans are reaching for those spices. With the cost of dining out or getting food delivered on the rise, home cooking is back in style. A recent survey finds 53% of Americans are dining out less often just to save money. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And stock futures at the moment are lower. The Dow futures are minus 205. That's the latest news. Stick around for traffic and weather. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Still working that accident scene on 65 southbound at Due West Avenue overpass in Madison. There is a wrecker on the scene at the moment, but 3 left lanes are still blocked off by it. North Nashville, Clarksville Pike at 23rd Avenue North. There's a crash involving injuries. And we have a stalled out vehicle on 40 westbound in the right shoulder just before Gallatin exit 232. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.608, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, Joan, you're going to be the arbiter of an argument that is going on right now between me and Sam.
Oh, I love this. Okay, go ahead.
So
Sam's right.
For 2 days, Sam has been begging to be able to talk to me on the air about some sort of a controversy, or I would say non-controversy, about the Bachelorette. I don't care. And I could okay, here's what we're going to do. Time for a Daily Dan poll on YouTube. Should we talk about the Bachelor controversy that Sam is begging Mandis to talk about? I don't care about the Bachelorette. Do you care, Joan?
Don't forget what the people on the super text line have to say about it, too.
Yeah, super text line. Does anybody care about the Bachelorette? Here's the gist of it. Here's the gist of it. The female who all of these men are trying to...
22 men.
22 men who are vying for the matrimony of this woman.
Yeah.
She's a train wreck. She has had affairs.
Mm-hmm.
She has what? She's under charges of assault or something like that. And so now, I guess we're talking about this. Well done, Sam. And so now they've canceled The Bachelorette. Can I ask this question, Sam and Joan? Is it any shock that these people that are on reality TV shows are a train wreck? Is there any shock at all in that? That's why I don't necessarily see this as news. All these people are train wrecks. You'd have to be a train wreck to put yourself in that position to be on a reality TV show. And no, I don't feel sorry for her. You know why? Because she agreed to do it knowing that all of that was in her past. And shame on, is it CBS?
ABC.
Shame on ABC for not doing the proper vetting. Now they've had to cancel the show.
After they're ready to go to air 3 days from today, and her ex has dropped the video yesterday of her throwing, I mean, what could be construed as a near deadly tantrum. She's throwing stools, trying to put him in a headlock,
Nice.
And she's doing it all the while her child is sitting on the sofa watching them.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my question. So how is it that it took all this time for this to come out?
I think he timed it perfectly. I think he was waiting.
So he wanted to take her out.
Yeah.
Well, I would too if she's throwing stuff at me.
So they're on that reality show, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which I can't help. It plays in my house. And so I've paid attention to it. And, he's kind of a flimsy, I'd say a weak man in general. But he executed this to perfection because like you've said, she's a train wreck. She's a nightmare. In fact, the cover shot that they used for this season of Bachelorette is her in a red dress holding a book that says The Book of More Men.
So
it's a cultural fail from top to bottom.
So she's a skank too.
Well, yeah.
All right, whatever. You know what's so funny about this, Joan? I still don't care. Here, I learned this a long time ago. Joan, back me up on this. I could do a radio show. I could fill 4 hours a day just talking about the human debris that is the American condition. I just don't want to because it's a short putt. It's a short. I don't know. Am I
too easy
a golf reference? I love it.
Thank you, Joan. There you go, Joan. So a long time ago, I used to do the human debris all the time. Then I just started covering The View, and I got that category covered. Anyway.
Wow. 5163 just said a really horrible thing.
Should we partake?
I remember when WTN had a good morning show.
Wow. Thank you,
Rotten
Sam.
to the core.
Thank you, Sam. Look what you brought me. Whatever. Fine. Then I'm going to talk about the near collision at Newark Airport. You want to do that? We'll do that. That's more.
All right.
And Sam, you're on triple secret probation. There was a near miss.
I pushed for nothing. He pulled me into that.
At Newark Airport. Now, remember that Newark Airport is like ground zero for staffing shortages and technical problems. There was a near miss of like 150 feet between a cargo plane, a cargo aircraft coming out of Memphis, and an Alaska Airlines that was flying out of Portland.
Tonight, a harrowing near miss at Newark International Airport just outside New York City.
Oscar 294, go around, maintain 2000.
An Alaska Airlines 737 passenger jet from Portland, Oregon, coming in for a landing, nearly colliding with a FedEx 777 cargo plane also attempting to land. The incident happening shortly after 8 p.m. on Tuesday. The Alaska jet just 150 feet off the ground, moments from touching down with passengers on board when air traffic control calmly tells the pilot to go around.
294, North Tower, runway, aircraft go around. Going around, that's 294.
Flight radar 24 showing the two aircraft approaching intersecting runways, coming dangerously close before the Alaska jet pulls up and passes over the FedEx plane with just over 300 feet of separation.
That Alaska jet was seconds from touchdown, and by the time it went around, it was directly over the top of the FedEx airplane at only 300 feet clearance. This could have been a disaster.
And David, the FAA and NTSB are now investigating to understand why both planes were cleared to land at the same time on intersecting runways.
I mean, that is crazy. So air traffic control audio reviewed indicated that controllers had warned the FedEx crew about the approaching Alaska Airlines jet and informed them that the passenger aircraft would land behind them. However, as the aircraft approached the runway, controllers realized that the Alaska jet would not be able to land with a safe separation distance behind the FedEx plane. As a result, the Newark Tower controller instructed the Alaska Airlines flight to go around, directing the crew to abort the landing and climb back into the air. The aircraft subsequently made a second approach and landed safely. So that was, obviously really, really close. And so now, of course, a lot of people are talking about what is going on at the airports again, because we still have a lot of issues at the airports, including Newark, which, as I said, is America's or one of America's worst airports. I've got more on this straight ahead. It is 6:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Madison, 65 southbound of the West Avenue overpass. Accident lost the free left lane.
All right, as far as your weather today, some clouds and a high near 80. On Saturday, a high of 82. And on Sunday, a high of 85-ish. Mid to upper 80s, as a matter of fact. And so a really, really nice 3 days ahead. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So the Trump administration has been really focused on trying to help not only Newark Airport, but a lot of these other airports as well that have old equipment, and obviously we still have a shortage of air traffic controllers. They've been trying to upgrade literally everything, and they've actually succeeded in doing some of this because of the flight restrictions that have been imposed. This was Sean Duffy last year talking about Newark specifically.
Right, we had massive delays at Newark early in the summer, and we reduced the capacity at Newark, and then all the flights flew on time, right? There was no more delays. I can't guarantee that's the case here, but I'm hopeful that we're going to have more on-time flights, less cancellations. But the main mission I have, Brian, is my mission number one is to keep people safe. That's one. Number two is gridlock with the traveling public. That's a secondary issue. Delays are a secondary issue. Safety is primary. And so this is not politics for us. Again, politics are around what's happening, but this was not a political decision. This was a data-driven decision to make the right calls, to get ahead of any issues that could happen, in the airspace that could have negative consequences.
Yeah, and that was close. I mean, 150 to 300 feet? This is, again, from the Daily Mail. By the way, we still have, obviously, airport issues because of the shutdown. This is from the Daily Mail. The airport chaos continued to spiral as about 50,000 officers, TSA officers, had to forego their first paycheck last week as Congress continues to spar over funding for the Department of Homeland Security. There's a number of different ways that the Democrats are throwing the American people under the bus. And this is just one of them.
Security agents are frontline agents.
Sorry. From now, what we're dealing with is not only the possibility because of the shutdown, we're dealing with a number of different things, including the possibility of sleeper cells here in our country. We are vulnerable to terrorism. And, of course, we are having airport issues as well. Ed Bastian is the Delta CEO. Airline executives are now really angry because these TSA agents who are, one of their jobs is to protect Americans, they're not getting paid. And so the airlines have been asking Congress, can you please simply get this figured out so that the TSA agents can get paid? This is Delta CEO Ed Bastian. He is among them that they're really frustrated with Congress.
It's inexcusable that our security agents, our frontline agents that are essential to what we do, are not being paid. And it's ridiculous to see them being used as political chips. So, we're outraged. And if there's a call to action here, and I think over 90% of the American public support those people getting paid, ask our folks right here in Washington to do their job, get our people paid. They can do it.
So, obviously, there's still a problem. There's still a problem with the equipment. There's still a problem with staffing. Now we have TSA agents that are not being paid because of the shutdown. They say that some workers are becoming desperate for money, taking on second jobs, and even selling their blood to get by, while scores of others are calling out sick or even resigning. Airlines have since been forced to delay flights for passengers who struggle to get through hours-long security lines or rebook when possible. So there have been, 400 flights, they say, as day broke on Friday. Not sure how things are at our airport, but as day broke on Friday, nearly 400 flights were already delayed within, into, or out of the United States. So there's a lot going on. By the way, I don't know if you've seen this, if you spend any time on social media, but obviously we're angry with Congress for a number of different reasons. And by and large, generally speaking, everybody does hate Congress. But there is video of Nancy Mace and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. This went viral, I think it was yesterday. They're waltzing through the airport, and they're obviously skipping all of the really long lines. Congress, by and large, they don't have to suffer the consequences of their inaction. And so now you have some folks that are out there, and they're saying, and people are responding to Nancy Mace and Debbie Wasserman Schultz walking and waltzing through the airport, skipping the lines, and they're saying, you know what, take away those privileges from the members of Congress. Now, there is a congressman, a Republican congressman out of the state of Ohio, Bernie Moreno, and he is one of these congressmen who is, and this is a very Republican thing for him to do, and I appreciate what he's doing. He's saying, you know what? We shouldn't get paid, and we should be stripped of those airport privileges as long as we are doing what we're doing to the American people.
Reopen the Department of Homeland Security for 2 weeks. Let's let people of good faith, you and I, look, we agree on what you said. Let's take our paychecks away. Let's prevent us from flying home. Let's make us, I'll use your words, keep our butts here until we get this done. If that means today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, we can play pickleball in between. It'll be fantastic, okay? But we don't leave. If that means right through Easter, by the way, we do not leave this chamber And we lose pay every day that goes by until we've funded the whole thing, because we can work it out. We can work this out. But I look at some of your colleagues who said they're serene as to where we are on this. I don't think there's 260,000 families that are serene about this, and I don't think you are either.
They're literally selling blood to be able to pay the bills. So this is, I mean, there's a number of different layers to this, but we still have the old equipment. We're understaffed as far as the air traffic controllers go. And now we have all of these TSA agents, as we've been all talking about since the shutdown, the partial shutdown. You have these TSA agents that are now refusing to go to work for whatever reasons. They're trying to find a way to pay the bills. That's number two. And number three, we have these massively long lines, and that is happening all across the country. And now the American people are watching as members of Congress waltz through the airport, not a care in the world. They don't have to go through the usual protocols that the American people do. And people are getting really, really angry. It is 6:23 on Super Talk 99.7. Joan's got the news coming up at 6:30. Joan.
Yeah, coming up here, Dan, out on bond, a local TV reporter is back at home in Nashville now. And how'd you like to have a word face-to-face with those Congress members in the airport? We'll tell you why you may get the chance to do just that. It's coming up here at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 6:24, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. USS United Structural Systems. I love these folks, and this is the company that I trust to come out to my home when I have water damage or foundation issues. Now, they've been doing this in Middle Tennessee for a long time. They are your local foundation and waterproofing experts. They live here, they work here, and yes, they understand exactly how Tennessee's soil, weather, and homes behave. They've been trusted in Tennessee since 1994. USS United Structural Systems, again, they've been here for a long time. More than 30,000 local homeowners have trusted USS. That experience means that they've seen every type of problem that Middle Tennessee will foist upon our homes. Now, they know how to read the signs. Every crack or every leak tells a story. That's what they say. USS knows what those signs mean. They can pinpoint problems right at the source, whether we're talking about foundation settlement, basement water intrusion, crawl space, moisture issues, and a whole lot more. So check them out, USS United Structural Systems. They do have that A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. And by the way, they do have those transferable lifetime warranties. So you want to find them online, USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. Tell them Dan Landis told you to reach out.
So again,
Good morning. Now 6:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. In the Spanish language Nashville TV reporter who was taken into custody by ICE a couple of weeks ago is now back at home. Her name is Stephanie Rodriguez. She overstayed her visa back in 2021, and she's in the U.S. from Colombia. But her lawyers claim her detention a couple of weeks ago was only related to retaliation.
Rodriguez has done extensive reporting on immigration enforcement in Tennessee. Her attorneys claim ICE detained her in retaliation. The government denies that accusation. A federal hearing was held on Tuesday to determine whether her arrest was legal. The judge has yet to make a ruling.
That is News 2's Alicia Wemberly. Now, we'll keep following this story and bring you the latest. A federal judge in Oregon ruling yesterday that Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. overstepped his legal authority when he declared that doctors who mutilate children's bodies over gender confusion, quote, do not meet professionally recognized standards. Gender mutilation treatments have been banned in 27 Republican-led states, but they are legal in states bringing the lawsuits, which include Oregon, California, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and New York. The judge in this case, who was appointed to the bench by former President Joe Biden, said that this case spoke to broader tactics that threaten to undermine democracy. Well, you may get the opportunity to have your say with your member of Congress while standing in long lines at the airport. Yesterday, the Senate unanimously passed a bill that ends one of their perks. Until now, Congress members were allowed to skip the TSA security line at the airport, what Dan was just talking about. Here's Texas Senator John Cornyn, who introduced that perk cut.
Ending these courtesy escorts for members of Congress at our nation's airports during a DHS funding shutdown is the right thing to do.
Under this bill, members of Congress will have to go through the same TSA screenings as the general public. Yes, the Senate has passed it. That bill now goes to the House. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. So we have that crash on 65 this morning. This one's in the northbound lanes in Franklin. It's before I-840. That's exit 59, and it's on the right shoulder. There may be another another accident make that on the left shoulder, so be careful in that area. Antioch 24, the westbound side before Harding Place. It's a crash on the right shoulder. In North Nashville, Clarksville Pike at 23rd Avenue North. That's the scene of an accident. And in Smyrna, on the westbound side of 24, there's an accident just now reported at Sam Ridley Parkway. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.635, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends, and happy Friday to you. Want to welcome on into the program. You've heard him on and seen him on Fox News, and, of course, he's with the Heritage Foundation as well. And my guy to turn to on all things the economy, E.J. Antoni, joining us. E.J., thank you for the last-minute assist here. So one of the things that I'm covering this morning, and this was top of the fold on the Daily Mail, U.S. opening a new front in the battle to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. I don't remember the last time that we spoke, EJ, but I know that we've spoken about oil a number of different times. Clearly, the president is, with what we're doing this morning in the last several hours, the president is focused on getting the Strait of Hormuz opened up. Talk a little bit about the importance of the Strait of Hormuz and getting that opened back up. Also, just so people know that I know, and I know that you know this, EJ, but some European allies have said that if we can make the Strait of Hormuz safe again, then they will jump in to protect the Strait of Hormuz. That also might be part of the equation here.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again, Dan. And look, you got to understand, about a fifth of the world's oil right now is tied up in the strait. It's an incredible amount of volume that has to go through a relatively narrow waterway where at its narrowest point, it's only a couple of dozen miles wide. In naval navigation terms, that's the equivalent of trying to walk through a back alley in Manhattan. This is pretty tight, all right? And so it's relatively easy for Iran to use what's being called asymmetric warfare and close it down. They can use relatively cheap missiles and drones, relatively cheap compared to things like the interceptor technology to stop those things. They can use these relatively cheap methods to essentially attack and risk sinking maritime vessels, risk sinking commercial vessels here. So you've essentially stopped most of that trade. Iran, of course, is still letting their own vessels through to sell oil to places like China, which is not good for the U.S. But most of our European allies and other nations that really depend on this region, they're in a very, very tough spot. You got to realize a nation like Japan, they don't have the oil reserves we do here at home. Japan imports about 95% of its oil from the Gulf. A nation like Vietnam, they're going to run out of gasoline probably in less than a week. I mean, this is a really, really serious problem. So it's imperative that you get that strait open again and you get the oil flowing, because this is going to have potentially, depending on how long this goes, this could have the same kind of impact on the global economy that COVID did in 2020. Again, there's a lot of ifs, there's a lot of unknowns. I can't tell you that's going to happen for sure, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 hours, let alone 6 days or 6 weeks.
Well, I'm going to tell you, EJ, I just saw the headline from CNN, UK military plant, breaking news. UK military planners are helping to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. So apparently that is going on as we speak. So one of the things that I would ask, and I'm clearly no oil expert, which is why I turn to you for such things, but one of the things that I would ask is, okay, so let's say that the U.S. is successful in taking out these fast boats and these other military assets that Iran has to close the Strait of Hormuz, how long would it be before we start seeing oil prices go down again if we can get that flowing?
Great question, Dan. So there's two really important points here to consider. The first is the fact that you have already had oil infrastructure in the region and natural gas infrastructure in the region get damaged. I believe it was Qatar who just announced within the last 24 or 36 hours that some of the damage that was recently done is going to take 3 to 5 years to repair. So that represents a significant decrease in global supply, and it's going to last for a long time. Now, that obviously gives us here in the United States an opening to ramp up production and to increase our own exports. But that being said, you're not going to get back to pre-war prices for things like natural gas and things like crude oil anytime soon. It's going to take a while. That's not to say prices are going to remain at 100, right? If we wrap this thing up literally within the next day or two and there's not a lot of infrastructure that gets damaged, you're going to see prices come back down relatively quickly, just not quite as low as they were before until we get these repairs done and again, things get rebuilt. So that's the first part. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and finish. Then I've got a follow-up.
Okay, so then the other component here, besides just the whole question of infrastructure, remains that is Iran, even if we pull all of our assets out of the region, what is their posture going to be? Is their posture going to be one of, you know what, after everything you guys have done, we're going to continue to keep this strait closed for a while? Are they going to continue to do something that they just recently announced, which is essentially taxing any ship that goes through the strait? There was a tanker that was just charged $2 million to basically have its safe passage through the strait. Are things like that going to continue to put upward pressure on prices into the future?
So Israel bombed Iran's oil fields. Trump says he didn't know about that. Iran then ends up bombing other Middle Eastern countries as well with their natural gas fields and so forth. So there's a lot of tit for tat going on here. Obviously, that's what war is. Karg Island. So you have a lot of conversation regarding Karg Island. This is, for people that don't know, this is basically an island where Iran, all of their exports flow out of Karg Island. And so the question is, and Donald Trump talked about this yesterday, we don't want to damage Karg Island, but they are talking about maybe, and Scott Bessent said this yesterday, they are talking about maybe taking over Karg Island. And so Karg Island would become a U.S. asset. Talk about the implications of that on gas prices. And, really that would be something, if we took away, that would absolutely choke Iran's economy.
Well, it would, but it would choke ours too. Look, this is the problem. We're codependent. We need the oil coming out of Iran. I don't mean we as in just the United States, but we globally. This is the big problem here. We can't afford to simply cut off all oil coming out of Iran or even the Middle East broadly. So if you take over Karg Island, let's say, Karg Island doesn't have any oil on it. Any oil under it, I should say. Karg Island is basically, the reason that's an asset for Iran is the fact that the water around it is very deep. And so tankers can just pull right up to the shore and load, whereas most of the shoreline, you can't do that because the water is just simply too shallow. But the slope of the seabed there increases so dramatically that, again, the tankers can just pull right up. They can dock. And so there's a pipeline that actually runs from the mainland to Karg Island, and that's how they can, offload all that oil. So if you're going to drop the Marines there and they're going to take over the island and they're going to prevent any Iranian oil from being exported, sure, that's going to starve Iran for money, but it starves the global economy for oil. I mean, what exactly happens at that point? You're going to take a huge chunk of supply offline and you're going to drastically increase oil prices around the world. I just don't see how this plays out in a way where we win. Look, this is very much, I feel like this is very much like 1945 all over again. In other words, if you look at the combined military might of the United States, of the Soviet Union, of the United Kingdom and its empire, there is no way the remaining Axis powers of Germany and Japan are going to be able to win. It just becomes a question at that point of how much pain are the allies willing to endure to get unconditional surrender. That in a lot of ways feels like where we are today.
645, and EJ Antoni is joining us on Super Talk 99.7. EJ, got a couple more real quick questions after I check the roads on WTN. It's interesting, EJ. We're talking about Carg Island and this debate as to whether or not Scott Besson said yesterday that is one of the options on the table. If we took, and I don't know anything about Carg Island, so you're the expert, but if we took over Carg Island, you talk about how that would limit or cut off a big supply of oil coming into the global market. If we took over Carg Island, could we just continue to operate it just the way the Iranians are? But of course, it's their oil that is going out of Carg Island, correct?
Well, exactly. So again, this is where I'm not exactly sure what the play is, and maybe there's something that other folks know that I don't. Maybe it's above my pay grade. But if Iran can just shut off the spigot, in other words, they're going to stop pumping the oil from the mainland to Carg Island. It's not as if we can simply land troops there and now we control all of Iran's oil infrastructure. The vast majority of that infrastructure is back on the mainland. Again, the reason Carg Island is so valuable is the fact that it's a deep water port, essentially. So once again, they pipe the oil out there. The big tankers can pull right up, load, and then head out. So I'm just not sure exactly what the play is here. I mean, the reason why the president tweeted out the fact that, look, Israel striking these natural gas fields was a mistake. We told them not to do it anymore, right? The whole reason is, again, we have this codependent relationship with a lot of these other nations. We need that energy. We got to keep these energy flows going. Otherwise, it's going to do a tremendous amount of economic harm. Look at what's happened already with oil markets and with gas prices and how much people are hurting.
One of the things that Besant as well said yesterday is they are, I don't know if the proper term is unsanctioning, but taking sanctions off of Russian oil, and they're talking about doing it with some Iranian oil as well. How much would that help the price of gas right now?
Well, it would certainly help to a certain extent, but the problem here is, again, because of that kind of codependent relationship, and we're already seeing this with Russia, so we would see the exact same thing repeat essentially with Iran. Previously, under sanctions, what Russia was having to do is basically sell their oil under the table and at a discount to other nations in order to get around the sanctions. So that meant that Russia was selling less oil, but they were also forced to sell it more cheaply. They weren't making a lot of money. What's happening right now? Now they're selling their oil at market prices, and market prices have almost doubled. So they're selling at a significantly higher price, and they're selling it for more. And look, I'm not saying it was the wrong decision, right? We need the oil. My point is just simply the fact that one of the outcomes right now is that we are fueling Russia's war machine in the Ukraine. We are giving so much more money now to Vladimir Putin, and of course he's going to use it to further prosecute that war and probably for other ends that we're not going to be too happy about. So we once again go back. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record here, but we once again go back to this codependent relationship that we have on these different oil-producing countries. Wouldn't it be nice if the last 4 years under Biden, we hadn't been throttling our domestic energy sector, if we had been doing drill, baby, drill, and production was going like gangbusters, and we could simply just be replacing all of this lost oil from other places?
Well, yeah, EJ, you're absolutely right. And of course, with the price of oil, the price of gasoline, and then everything else will rise as those prices go up. So this is why I think the president is doing everything he can to try to end this thing as quickly as possible. And I don't know, EJ, is there anything that we've left on the table that I haven't covered?
Well, I think you just really hit the nail on the head right there in that last sentence. We got to get this thing done as soon as possible. This really stands to, I think, completely undo all of the great work the president has been doing on trying to make life more affordable. Energy affects the price of everything we do and everything we buy. You are seeing not just energy prices go up, you are seeing things like fertilizer prices explode right now. This is a repeat of what happened in 2022, going back to Putin when he invaded the Ukraine and there were natural gas shortages, and that caused fertilizer to go up because we synthesize urea, the main ingredient in fertilizer. We synthesize that from natural gas. So if you increase the price of energy, you increase the price of not just energy being used as energy, but all of the non-energy uses, whether that's being used to make plastics, being used to make fertilizer, you name it. So you're going to see all of these other prices start to go up if we don't wrap this thing up ASAP.
You think Iran is going to just try to wait us out? You know, they'll fight and fight and fight and fight, hoping that President Trump eventually will cave because of the impact on our economy. I think that's probably what one of their game plans is.
It's quite possible. You know, this is where we're getting outside my area of expertise, so I'm going to start guessing, which probably is not too helpful for your listeners. But yeah, look, I'm no expert on geopolitics or even the military, so it could be one of their part of their strategy. That's just not my area. I'm sorry.
It's all right, EJ, because you know what? Coming up at 7:35, I've got a lieutenant general coming on to talk about just that. But I really appreciate your help here talking about oil prices, and we'll have you on again soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too, sir.
All righty. Yes, we got Richard Newton coming up at 7:35 here on Nashville's Morning News to talk about the military aspects of what is going on in the Strait of Hormuz and also, generally speaking, with the conflict in Iran. It is 6:51. Joan's got the news at 7. Joan.
Yet coming up here, Dan, a Gallatin teacher facing some serious charges today. Also, a Waymo car brings a construction site to a halt. Those stories coming up at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Enforcement operation against Tren de Aragua members. So removing terrorists is terrorism? Got it. The Chris Ham Show, weekday mornings 9 to noon, and streaming on the Super Talk 99.7 WTN app.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, lifelong dog owner, and I've seen all kinds of behaviors with my dogs, and I bet that you have too. Now, if you have a dog that needs some behavior training, my buddy Jeff and his crew at Ridgeside K9 Nashville, they can help you. What I want you to do is go to my social media, go to Facebook, and find the video that I did on Milo. Now, Milo is a deaf dog, and the owners of Milo, they adopted him. They got him home, and they realized this could be a train wreck. So they called my friends at Ridgeside K9 Nashville, and they were able to help Milo. It's a great little video. It's 1 minute, 15 seconds long, but it really is indicative as to how Ridgeside K9 Nashville can help your dog. Now, if your dog has issues with aggression, potty problems, anxiety, basic obedience, they can help you help your precious pup with just about anything. They've got a lifetime support guarantee. They are there for you 24/7. Find them online, ridgesidek9nashville.com. That's ridgesidek9nashville.com. rsk9nash.com, the letter K, the number 9, rsk9nash.com. Ridgeside K9 Nashville, veteran-owned, proven results, and guaranteed for life. Dan Mandis here, Window Nation. Now listen, is your heat or AC running more than it should, no matter the weather? My friends at Window Nation, they can help you. I've got 4 Window Nation windows in my home, including 2 in my all-important basement studio. So, right now they've got a great deal to save you money. Matter of fact, the more windows you buy, the more savings you could enjoy, because at a Window Nation right now, they are offering you up to 50% off all window styles. Be sure to ask about Window Nation's financing options as well, including $0 down and payments as little as $199 a month. Again, all courtesy of Window Nation. They've got an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. You can find them online, windownation.com. 45,000 five-star reviews. And one of the reasons is because every single month they have ways to save you money. This month, the month of March, 50% off all window styles and great financing options as well, including $0 down and payments as little as $199 a month. Find them online. Mention my name, Dan Mandis, windownation.com, windownation.com. $6:58, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. I've got a video up here if I could, Sam. The headline is, and I saw this and I just immediately started laughing. CNN's Brian Stelter is going to lead an Ole Miss panel on how the media can regain public trust.
Starting with firing guys like you, Brian.
Brian Stelter.
Oh, goodness.
Now, if you're watching on YouTube, I've said this before, but Brian Stelter has the creepiest smile I've ever seen.
Okay, so it's not just me?
No, it's a weird smile.
It's also got a very unappealing face overall.
Well, whatever, but I mean, it's like, you know what? I've actually gone through this with Amy because people will ask me to like smile with my teeth. And it's like, so I'll do it. And she says, don't do that. Some people just.
And then you go, I work in radio, so I don't have to be.
Yeah, they need to grin, not smile. And Brian Stelter is one of those. But anyway, But this is a guy, I don't want to criticize his looks because I'm certainly not one to talk, but I would say that as far as journalism goes, I've always asked the question, and Joan, maybe you know, Sam, but I've always asked the question, who is Brian Stelter to talk about anything within the media? What has he ever done as far as a journalist goes? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So
less than nothing. And, he came back. He was gone from CNN for a while. And when he came back, he did this whole, I'm going to be more thoughtful and approach things with a much more clear head about. He's
and then 5 minutes
I think
later,
he's worse than ever.
5 minutes later, he forgot all of that, and he starts, going after Trump, going after conservative media, and so on and so forth.
I figured it out, by the way. I figured out why his smile's so
Why is that?
appealing. He looks like Arnold Vosloo, who played the mummy in the Brendan Fraser movie.
Okay.
But obviously, like not the real Prince, like the dumber brother kind of Prince look.
Well, and here's the bottom line. If you're looking for somebody to figure out how the media can regain public trust, it's not Brian Stelter that you should be talking to. I think it's actually, is it Barry Weiss? Barry Weiss,
She
is now head of CBS, and I believe that she's trying to do very good work to regain any journalistic credibility that CBS ever had. Got to go. 7 o'clock, WTN.
Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A teacher at Gallatin High School has been arrested, is now facing multiple charges. Jamie Owens is a criminal justice teacher, but today he's out of a job.
Owens is facing multiple charges, including sexual battery. The school district has suspended him without pay while the investigation plays out.
It's News 2's Haley Wilgus. There are no details about why these charges were brought, but in a statement, the school says they're thankful for those who came forward and to the school resource officers for their quick action. An unexpected early morning glitch at Wedgwood Houston construction site.
We have a Waymo driverless vehicle that has just blown through our site and is parked right in the middle of our zone, and we can't get it to move.
That's the contractor there, Kurt Owens, in a call to police before he was rerouted to Waymo help desk. Eventually, that driverless car found its way out of the situation, but not before causing a big delay in the construction zone. Waymo says it trains first responders on how to disengage the autonomous features if there is an emergency. And in a statement to WSMV4, Waymo said in part, "We know that seeing new technology can feel novel at first, but once people experience the technology in action, they quickly come to value the safety and convenience Waymo brings to the road." I don't know if that construction person there would feel that was convenient at all. Lawmakers met in Washington yesterday trying to come to an agreement on funding for DHS, but Democrats are still digging in. They refuse to budge, leaving TSA workers swaying in the wind, getting their paychecks. More of them have now walked off the job, leaving airports with 3-hour security lines. Now, more chaos after a close call at a major airport.
Authorities are trying to determine what led to a near miss over Newark Airport. An Alaska Airlines jet coming in for a landing nearly collided with a FedEx cargo plane, also attempting to land. Air traffic control telling the Alaska pilot to go around. Flight radar 24 shows the two planes approaching intersecting runways, coming dangerously close before the Alaska jet pulls up and passes over the FedEx plane with only about 300 feet of separation.
ABC's Nicole D'Antonio reporting there. By the way, a check of BNA's website this morning says the TSA wait lines are less than 20 minutes. The Justice Department sees several websites that it says were used by Iran as part of psychological operations and spreading terrorist propaganda. Those 4 websites posted sensitive data, says the DOJ, calling for the killing of journalists and certain Israeli citizens. Attorney General Pam Bondi warning that terrorist propaganda online can incite real-world violence. It comes after 4 recent violent attacks at the hands of Muslims here in America. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. We've got Dow futures down 171 this morning, and oil is running a bit higher as well. Brent crude is trading at $108 a barrel. That's the latest news. Your traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Couple of trouble spots in Franklin on 65 North before I-840. That's a crash that's sitting on the right shoulder, just attracting a lot of attention. 24 West in Antioch before Harding Place. You got a crash that's in the right shoulder. And another one in Madison, Old Hickory Boulevard at Gallatin Pike. North Nashville, a crash at Clarksville Pike and 23rd Avenue North. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.706, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. Lots of great feedback this morning. Thank you. I want to welcome on into the program the Sumner County Commissioner, Jerry Mansfield. Jeremy, also always great to have you on, and congratulations are in order because you and John Rich have been able to help the Gregory family. Let's talk real quick about the lead up to the Gregory family and their battle with TVA. And TVA, they wanted to put these, because you and I spoke about this before, TVA wanted to put these massive power lines on the Gregory family property, not really asking for permission. This turned into a big old cluster. This was a family who they had been on this property in Sumner County for 7, 8 generations. TVA just shows up and says, yeah, you didn't read the fine print in the emails. You missed your opportunity to respond, and now we're going to come in and start plotting these massive power lines. And it just turned into a big old fight between, John Rich, the Gregory family, yourself as the commissioner there for Sumner County. And it just turned into a big old deal. And now this is apparently come to a conclusion. So talk about what has happened now.
Yeah, hey, Dan, appreciate you reaching out and having me on. It's good to do a little recap. You summarized it pretty well. Couldn't say it better. Yeah, we had a good meeting yesterday with the TVA, John Rich and myself, a TVA representative, Mr. David Bowling, and the Gregory family there at their farm. And it went really well. I mean, it was we met for about an hour or so. I can't say that there weren't tense or tenuous spots in the meeting, and some frustrations and some raised voices for sure on all sides. But we definitely were able to come to what I feel was a good outcome. I feel like we're 85% there from my standpoint. I'm just looking at longer term impact for all residents and all landowners, even down State Route 109, that will eventually be impacted. And so this is just one of those hard situations to make 100% of everybody happy. But at the end of the day, I was able to get resolution for not just the Gregory family, but I feel for a dozen or so other families that would have been negatively affected and impacted, property owners, hundreds and hundreds of acres where these transmission lines were purportedly going to go, but we have an agreement from TVA saying that we're not going to do it there anymore. We're going to move it and work with our engineers to do that.
So a couple of things. How many total farms were going to be impacted by the TVA? And recap for me as we talk about this. Basically, with the Gregory family, they were multi-generational on this property. And, you know, it's one of those things where emails go out and notifications are put up, and it's almost like it's in the fine print that you've got to do something right now. But there were multiple farms, if I'm not mistaken, that were going to be impacted by this?
Correct. I mean, there was approximately around 20 or so property owners that were owned parcels and owned either jointly or individually, over a dozen families represented from those 20 individuals. And, you know, you made a good point about the notification process. We did bring that up in the meeting yesterday. You know, the fact that it was a May of 2024, TVA just like sent out a letter, a blanket kind of spam marketing letter, I guess you could call it, to the neighbors, all the neighborhood surrounding properties saying, hey, we're going to have a meeting and you can come and give your input. Well, the Gregorys, I mean, Frosty made a good point in our meeting yesterday to David from the TVA. It's like, you know, the day that you did that, we were up to our necks in hayfields working on a working active farm, you know, cutting hay and working our cattle. And so we weren't able to come to your meeting. And, you know, that's a big thing to look at. And one, they weren't told they were directly affected either in those. It's just like, hey, it was kind of a blanket statement. And then TVA, you know, said you can make online comments. Well, Frosty made a good point. He doesn't use the internet. He's not online. You know, he's going to turn 70 years old next week. And so you have a major disconnect in how TVA does business. But the positive outcome was from Mr. Bowling from TVA was they've committed to changing how they do business moving forward. And I know that's kind of why John Rich has been involved as a citizen advocate as part of the USDA's Lawfare Task Force for these types of situations for farmers and property owners all across America, is to make sure that these egregious policies in, as John would say, in 1933 socialist era, yes, a behemoth corporation entity like TVA is just operating without impunity and however they want to. Definitely, you know, John was able to reemphasize and passionately so about what TVA did in Cheatham County, just showing up basically with their own armed personal little military, you know, a SWAT team, and over 143 different lawsuits of landowners who could not even afford, half of them couldn't even afford a lawyer themselves. And so TVA has a pretty long track record history of being bullies and doing what they want to. And so I know, you know, John is definitely riding that ship backed by President Trump, and he emphasized that very clearly in that meeting and encouraged Mr. Bowling and the TVA to do the right thing moving forward so that, you know, they can be properly given accolades for riding the ship. And Mr. Bowling made a commitment that that's the intent of TVA moving forward, how they deal with landowners, you know, going before they something like this happens, to go actually meet with them at their tables. And that's one thing the family emphasized, as well as Mr. Rich, as far as you don't need to come just do this on the back end. You need to do this on the front end and go talk to these families and let them know what's happening before you come. And another point was,
well, hey, can I, real quick, before you do that, I want to follow up. So you talked about, and I mentioned it in the question, about the notification process that TVA has gone through. And you mentioned Mr. Gregory, 70 years old, not on the internet. And it seems like this seems to be an ongoing mode of operation for TVA, where the notification has been, I'm going to say, intentionally vague. Would you say that the notification system, and if you want to punt on this, that's fine, but would you say that the notification process was sort of intentionally vague?
I absolutely would say that, specifically because the letter they received just said you might be one of the families impacted by this. And that was, and you don't get more vague than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So, yeah, 100%.
The TV, well, okay, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. So I want you to hold on. I got 15 seconds. Got to check the traffic. Then I've got a follow-up question. I interrupted you. I want you to continue your train of thought. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. All right, very good. 7:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. As far as your weather goes, really nice next 3 days. Today, some clouds, a high near 80. Saturday, a high of 82. Sunday, a high of, mid to upper 90s, as a matter of fact. Appreciate you listening to Super Talk 99.7. Jeremy Mansfield, the commissioner for the Sumner County, is with us, District County Commissioner. So, Jeremy, I interrupted you, so go ahead and continue your train of thought. Then I've got a couple of follow-ups.
Yeah, I was basically talking about really getting into land values and how TVA approaches people. And it's one thing that John Rich brought up with, with Don Moll, the president and CEO of TVA, was that TVA comes in and if they want to negotiate, it's pretty much they're negotiating at what the condemnation rate would be, which is probably 10 cents on the dollar for a piece of property. And we were able to get Mr. Bowling on the record saying that he agreed that that's not the right way to do business, and that they shouldn't even be offering a dollar for dollar for somebody's property. They should be offering $1.25. So basically, we've got them to admit, their practice of really giving maybe 10% of the value of a piece of property, to not only just giving somebody 100% of what the fair market value is at that time before somebody knows TVA is coming, to even giving up to 125% of that fair market value before the property would be condemned or have a power transmission lines on it, which nobody wants to live under transmission lines.
No.
It got brought up before yesterday, and the comment was made, I'll say, at one point, I think without necessarily regard or thinking, that, hey, in East Tennessee, we love to have cell tower, transmission towers on our property. And I was like, well, Tennessee, we don't, because, there's a lot of research linking those to cancer. And realize a mistake there in saying that, because of cell towers usually on hilltops and mountains, not quite as inhabitable as is in Middle Tennessee, where cell towers are getting put in their schools, and there's a lot of concerns there. But same thing with power lines. I mean, people don't know long-term effects of those things. You're generating power, what that might affect on humans. And so what the good part was, we got them to admit that they would need to give as much as current fair market value for a property, or even more so, because of the future loss of that property in the future of being able to do anything with it. So that was a huge thing that came up. But
so I'm now the tougher, I don't know, but tougher is not the right word, but this continues, because now you have to figure out where these things are going to go, and some other properties might be impacted, I guess. What's the process moving forward if you have to put these lines in?
Yeah, and that's, That's one thing that did come up. They agreed that, and I've referred to this for any listeners that heard before, there's all these properties are north of Gallatin, and the TVA has a current easement that runs east to west north of Gallatin that is actually used to power Google and Facebook data centers in the area. And that is on what's called the old Hartsville nuclear power transmission line that is now defunct, but TVA still has those easements from the 70s. And so they agreed to start there, whereas before they weren't. They were starting right around the corner from the Gregory's farm. So they agreed to abandon that completely, which takes out over 50% of the equation, which was a huge relief. But starting on those current easements is the only thing that makes sense because that's where they currently are. And they have the rights to those easements. And but there is the line that's running north to south going back towards Gallatin, where they're trying to power this new substation for mega developments. This is all about reckless growth, in my opinion, in the citizens' opinion. And so they've agreed to work with their engineers to look at State Route 109 to both sides of State Route 109 to see which would be the better route to run as close as possible to 109 as it runs down. And so again, it's one of those things that it's not a situation where everybody is going to be happy because, I guess first, TVA was planning already half or probably 60% of this project was already running down State Route 109. And so it's basically shifting the other 40% to be fully running down 109 at that top portion. So that is something they're going to look at, and they promised and agreed that they would go and sit down and talk in person with all of those property owners that would be affected with a proposed route that they're going to re-engineer and rethink through. And so that was really important that they sit down and talk with these families and these property owners about what that process would look like.
And if I may, the owners, the property owners, from what it sounds like, will get a fair deal monetarily.
Correct, and that is exactly what they was promised at the table, and so that's why I'm sharing that publicly to hold them accountable to that. That's exactly what he said. I mean, he said up to $1.25 of value on a dollar instead of 10 cents on the dollar, and so those were the words used. So that's 125% versus you're just getting 100% of your value, and so that's a big deal as well for somebody because there might be people who are willing to do that and want to do that. I can't speak for those landowners. But they did promise to sit down with them, negotiate at the table in person once, but they did promise also to get back to us to work with the engineers on what it would look like for both sides of State Route 109 for the remaining portion. Again, a good portion, about 60% of that line is already planned for down 109, right on an easement. So that just makes the most sense.
All right. Well, Jeremy, I very much appreciate you giving us an update on the battle between the TVA and the Gregory family on that property for, generations. And again, the TVA just comes on and decides, as we've seen TVA do previously, and just say, well, we're going to take this over. And then the power of John Rich, and in this case, the power of you, Jeremy Mansfield, you're able to come in and save the day. It is stunning that the TVA has been doing this for, so many years, and they've been getting away with it. And now, thanks to, again, Trump administration, you, John Rich, in these cases, I think you're doing great work. And congratulations. And will you keep us updated as this continues to move forward?
Absolutely. And I just got to give a shout out, just a huge thanks to John Rich for just being a consummate professional and just a gentleman. And all around, just super nice guy, very approachable, but he's a very good negotiator. He brings a big carrot, but he also brings a big stick. But John has been just a pleasure to work with, and appreciate his guidance and advice and leading us through this process, and just his advocacy, because we could not have done this without him. So just huge props to John, and I want to just give him a huge shout out.
Well, listen,
thanks for all of this.
You're right, and that's why John Rich is the citizen advocate for the Trump administration. And Jeremy, thank you very much for joining us here on Nashville's Morning News. I am befuddled at how the TVA has been able to get away with this kind of thing for so long. And I love that the Trump administration has, really recognized the issue. And now they have, in this case, John Rich as the citizen advocate. And I hope that the next administration continues down this road of having someone there to watch out for, look out for the citizens. Because when you're up, like the Gregory family, are you flipping kidding me? They've been on this property for 8 years, and they got a 70-year-old guy that's out there doing whatever they do on the farm. And, oh, yeah, we sent you an email. Oh, we sent you a pamphlet. Oh, are you kidding me, really? And then they show up and, oh, yeah, we're going to put these massive, power lines on your property. It's like, oh, well, you know what? Now that the citizens have somebody to help them and speak for them, I think the TVA is trying to figure out how they're going to do this moving forward. Anyway, I'm late. 7:24. Joan has the news coming up at 7:30. Joan.
Yes, still to come here, the U.S. takes aim on mine-laying vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Also, the search is now over, and it's a sad ending for the missing University of Alabama student. Those stories at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. It is 7:25 on Nashville's Morning News. And yes, indeed, it is March. Lots of weddings are being planned right now. And I can tell you that the best place for engagement rings and wedding rings is Brentwood Jewelry. You've got to check them out. They've got a vast selection of wedding bands and semi-mount engagement rings and loose diamonds as well. They have rings for every budget and every style for both men and women. Now, Brentwood Jewelry is the official jewelry store of the Mandis House. I've bought Amy a couple of amazing pairs of earrings, and she bought me my favorite watch a few years ago. So if you have any kind of event coming up, a birthday, definitely an anniversary, definitely maybe an engagement, a wedding coming up, check out my friends at Brentwood Jewelry in person or online. 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. That website, by the way, always tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. That website, BrentwoodJewelry.com, BrentwoodJewelry.com.
Good morning, 7:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The Pentagon zeroing in on mine-laying vessels that are helping Iran keep a stranglehold over the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian drones, meantime, are targeting Kuwaiti oil refineries this morning. Iran's new supreme leader, the Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, is given credit for a statement that was made this morning saying Iran's enemies need to have their security taken away. Now, he hasn't been seen since being named to replace his father, who was killed in an Israeli attack.
Israel and Iran again trading airstrikes amid growing fears over a global energy crisis. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu now saying he will not attack Iran's oil and gas facilities again for now. President Trump has said he didn't know in advance about Israel's strike on Iran's key gas field that triggered the escalation.
ABC's Patrick Reevell reporting from Doha this morning. The search is on for a man missing from Lebanon. 57-year-old James Whitaker, last seen in the South College Street area yesterday afternoon. He is a black man, 6'1", weighing 225 pounds. He's possibly wearing black jeans, a black shirt, and a black beanie hat. Anyone with information is asked to call Lebanon police. Meantime, the body of a missing University of Alabama student has been found in the coastal waters of Barcelona. 20-year-old Jimmy Gracie had gone missing while on spring break this week.
The 20-year-old from Illinois was visiting friends during their spring break. On Monday night, they went to Xoco, one of Barcelona's famous beachfront nightclubs. Gracie was last seen around 3 a.m. His family said police first found his phone nearby and later his wallet floating in the sea. Police scoured this neighborhood. His friends put up posters and held on to hope.
That's ABC's Maggie Ruley reporting. That is the latest news. Stick around for your traffic and weather. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 732, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. When something goes wrong in your home, you want the team that shows up fast, fixes it right, and treats you like family. Now, that is Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They are your trusted pros for total home comfort. Right now, it is the perfect time to upgrade. When you purchase a 16-SEER high-efficiency HVAC system or a whole home repipe, Busy Bee is going to give you a Yeti Tundra 45 cooler absolutely free. And this month only, here in March, Busy Bee has TVA rebates available as well for tune-ups and unit replacements too. Now, even better, their team is going to file all the paperwork for you. No hassle, no headaches. And if you want even more savings, check out the Beehive Club. Get a Beehive Club membership and keep your home humming year-round. Members get priority scheduling, discounted repairs, free annual HVAC, and plumbing checks and extended warranties too. Peace of mind as well, knowing that your equipment is always running at its best. It is the easiest way to save money, avoid breakdowns, and protect your home. Call 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
Okay, we have a closure this morning in Lebanon. It is 40 westbound between South Hartman Drive, exit 236, and I-840, exit 235. There are two accidents. Both have overturned vehicles. One of them is an overturned vehicle and a semi truck. So this is pretty serious this morning. Lebanon, again, 40 westbound between South Hartman Drive and I-840. It is closed both directions in that area. Also this morning on Highway 109 northbound side at Leeville Pike, it's a crash that takes out two left lanes. You've got an accident Highway 109 southbound side at I-40 as well, and a crash Clarksville Pike in North Nashville. It's at 23rd Avenue North. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:37. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You might want to pot down Joan's channel there because she's laughing at something, and I don't know what the heck it is. But
sorry.
It's okay, Joan. Should we even ask what you're laughing at? Joan's at home, no. And so Sam left her up on the audio console, and suddenly Joan, out of nowhere, is laughing maniacally.
Oh, I'm not laughing maniacally.
It sounded a little maniacal, Joan.
Yeah, no. Just something funny.
All right, we'll move on. All right, because listen, Lieutenant General Richard Newton is on the phone with us, and always great to have you on. And you told me to call you Dick, so how are you? And what is I got a lot of questions for you, Lieutenant General. Number one, President Trump is now being asked for another $200 billion, and he says, you know what, if we want this war to end quickly, then that's what we need to do. We need to approve the $200 billion, and we need to, I guess they got to go through Congress, of course. But do you agree with President Trump? Is that $200 billion? Is that what it's going to take?
Good morning, Dan. Always good to be with you, and happy Friday to all our listeners. The president is appropriately asking for additional funding with regard to the campaign in Iran. The $200 billion that Secretary Hegseth referred to yesterday at the presser at the Pentagon with himself and General Keane is really asking to sustain U.S. combat efforts against Iran, replenishment of weapons, and also add to future stockpiles that may or may not necessarily apply to this particular campaign. But it's not the first time an administration or the president has gone back to Congress in the midst of a military campaign. If you recall back, President H.W. Bush, Bush 41, with regard to Desert Storm, had asked for additional funding with regard to our air campaign that lasted several weeks against Saddam Hussein's forces in Iraq that brutally attacked Kuwait back several years or so ago. So I think it's appropriate. I think it's something that the president should do in terms of his role as the president of the United States, and ask for the Congress to authorize and then in turn appropriate. I've testified a number of times in both the House and the Senate where I've underscored the military necessity and capabilities required to put in the hands of our men and women in uniform who fight and win our nation's war. So absolutely, I stand behind the president on this one.
It is interesting because we have our missiles. Iran has their drones. The drones are a lot cheaper than the missiles, so we need to shoot them down. If you were in charge, what would you use that $200 billion for? Like if you're in charge of the budget, how would you spend it?
Well, if I was in charge of the budget, I would make sure we are very clearly articulated the requirements to the members of Congress. But as an operator, say if I'm Admiral Brad Cooper, the commander of U.S. Central Command, I would underscore the fact that we are most efficiently and effectively destroying Iran's ability to retaliate against Americans, as well as Israel and our Gulf Arab nations, our partners, which all are under the guise of U.S. national security interests. I would also underscore to them, as in all wars and campaigns, we learn and we create lessons learned, and part of those may be, and one of the lessons learned that we're learning from a very broad standpoint, Dan, is the fact of what you just articulated. You've got with regard to short-range ballistic missiles, long-range ballistic missiles that threaten the United States forces there, as well as our allies and partners. Iran is employing drones, and so it's very simple missile math. They have X amount of weapons still in their cache. We have X amount of weapons to defend against. But a major lesson learned coming out of this is really, what are we learning and how will we apply to the next several weeks, but the next several years, frankly, on how to counter these drones. And that is something that will go into additional funding, not necessarily this $200 billion, but certainly the research and development to counter UAS. So we're not spending a $2 million defensive missile system against a $50,000 drone, for that matter. So that's being learned, I guarantee you. But what we need for the current fight is, as I mentioned, a cache of stockpile of weapons to continue the fight to Iran, because they still have some punch left. But we're going to prevail here, and we need this $200 billion for operations and maintenance of those weapons.
Boy, I got to tell you, you're absolutely right. They do still have some punch left. In the news today is that President Trump really is going after now the Strait of Hormuz. They're trying to, of course, clear all of the Iranian dangers that are there in the Strait of Hormuz to get that back open again. When you look at what is going on in the Strait of Hormuz, the media is calling this a new front, if you will. I don't know if it's a new front, if you'd agree with that or not. But how effective do you think will be in clearing the Iranian, whether we're talking about the speedboats or the drones or whatever else that they have out there that is restricting the movement through the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, the new front, I think I would refer to as, now we're focusing on the southern flank, which is really inside that southern flank along where the Strait of Hormuz is. It's about a 20-mile strait between Iran and the United Arab Emirates and so forth, and then you've got the vast Persian Gulf. But what we're doing now is focusing on an area in around the Zagros Mountains, which really oversees the strait on the Iranian side, which houses ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones deeply buried in tunnels and other type of infrastructures that have threatened commercial shipping for years. This is not a surprise to Admiral Cooper, as I mentioned, our commander of U.S. Central Command. He commanded the Fifth Fleet, which really is the operational commander of the entire Persian Gulf, prior to his assignment as a commander of U.S. Central Command. So he knows this. He's probably our top war fighter in the region, or is our top war fighter and commander in the region. And so what you're seeing yesterday is the employment of a new weapon system, brand new for the first time. It's called the GBU-72. It's a 5,000-pound bunker buster. Recall back on June 22nd, 7 B-2s employed 14,000 pounds of the massive ordnance penetrator. And so that weapon system is referred to as the GBU-57, not to get too wonky here, but that's a 30,000 pounder. So what we have and what we've tested is an ability really not to necessarily have to employ a 30,000 pound bunker buster. They're not needed in these Zagros Mountain targets, but these 5,000 pounders. Reportedly, I can say in the media, they can be carried by two principal United States Air Force aircraft, B-1 bombers and F-15E Strike Eagles. The B-1s can carry about a dozen of these. The F-15E Strike Eagle can carry one. I commanded B-1 bombers. I've also commanded B-2s and B-52s, but they're reportedly flying out of Fairford, England. I commanded at Fairford, England during the tail end of Operation Allied Force when we went up to Milosevic, if you recall, in 1999. So these B-1s reportedly could be coming from Fairford, England, and employing these bunker busters against tough, deeply buried targets where Iran keeps its cache of short-range ballistic missiles that threaten commercial shipping. That's one point in terms of how we are now opening up a new chapter that's in our playbook, going after Iranian sites along in those Zagros Mountains. Also, we are using now what we call stand-in aircraft, reported by General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, at the presser with Secretary Hegseth yesterday at the Pentagon, that describes our ability now to use aircraft such as the A-10 Warthog, also Apache helicopters, because we have air supremacy. We can employ those aircraft at will, now going after Iranian gunboats that have projectiles that they can also and have threatened commercial shipping in for years inside the Strait of Hormuz. So that's what we're doing. At some point, if you like, we can talk about soon the arrival of the Amphibious Readiness Group coming out of Japan with about 2,200 Marines, part of a Marine Expeditionary Unit, as well as the USS Tripoli, which has a contingent of F-35 stealth fighters on board. But that's really what we're focused on. And I think I'm very encouraged by that, number one. Secondly, I'm very confident that Admiral Cooper really has a handle on this. And I think you're going to see in the coming days, if not weeks, you're going to see the clearing of the Strait of Hormuz in favor of the United States.
Well, and we certainly hope so. General Dick Newton is joining us here on Super Talk 99.7. Hold on for about 15 seconds. We got a big problem on the roadways, then I'll come back to you. Time to check the roads on WTN. All right, very good. It's 7:47. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. WTN got a great weekend ahead. As far as today goes, some clouds, high near 80. Saturday, a high of 82. And on Sunday, mid to upper 80s for your high under sunny skies. And so there's this big debate now, General Dick Newton joining us. There's a big conversation now about whether or not we're going to send in ground troops. And I know that President Trump has now said, no, we will not be sending in ground troops. We have Benjamin Netanyahu that says that we do need ground troops. And, you know, one of the things, and I think you and I spoke about this before, the Kurds in Western Iran, we've been talking about, and there have been reporting that says that the Kurds have been considering, you know, going into Tehran and taking on the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Give me your thoughts overall on ground troops.
Well, first and foremost, the introduction of U.S. ground troops would not be a sustained campaign in terms of numbers of years, much like you saw in Iraq or Afghanistan. The valiant service of our men and women who fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom and in Afghanistan Operation Enduring Freedom, and so forth. That's not what President Trump is articulating. I don't really think Prime Minister Netanyahu is as well, but a concept whereby you could have the introduction of a limited scope of U.S. forces would be perhaps, as I mentioned earlier, with regard to the Marine contingent that's on its way with the Amphibious Readiness Group. It gives another option for Admiral Cooper to occupy, say, Karg Island, which is about 300 miles to the north inside the Persian Gulf, which is where it's a significant island. It's a crown jewel of Iran's export energy economy. 90% of their oil and gas is transshipped out of Karg Island on commercial shipping through the strait, which provides about 20% of the world's liquid natural gas, oil, and so forth. And by the way, 80% of that 20%, sorry for the numbers this morning, but 80% of that actually goes to Asian markets, China, Japan, South Korea, and so forth. So if there is an option, or if Admiral Cooper is tasked to take the island on a limited basis, he would do that with that contingent of Marines. That's one aspect of the introduction of U.S. ground forces. The other one would be perhaps you could, and this would be very difficult, and it's not an easy fight here, but if you recall, there is still some significant enriched uranium up in the northern part of Iran, Isfahan, as well as there's other Iranian nuclear weapon sites. But if you needed to control that deeply buried enriched uranium, you could, at the end of the day, it's about 1,000 pounds or so, do that in terms of introducing a limited, very high-end special operations forces that would be supported by exquisite intelligence such as Israeli Mossad as well. That would be on a limited basis. There's significant risk there. But should the conditions allow for if you really can't get to the enriched uranium because it's so deeply buried, but you need to control the entry-exit areas or points, you could do that with a very specialized U.S. Special Operations Forces. And I guarantee you what Prime Minister Netanyahu is also referring to would be in concert with Israeli ground forces, specialized ground forces as well. The challenge there is that you have to fight your way in and control it, because I guarantee you the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has their most capable defensive forces in around those sites, because that is really the basis of how the regime itself maintains its own survival, is controlling this remnants of enriched uranium. So those are some contingency we could use. However, I do not see a full-scale land attack or sustainment of long-term U.S. forces on the ground in Iran. That's I would advise the president. He has this. This is not in his calculus at all, and I believe it's not really in the calculus of Prime Minister Netanyahu. But however, my third point is, at some point, I believe what as successful as we are to date and will continue to be, Israel is focused on how the regime itself is being sustained. The infrastructure, going after leadership, going after Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. There's about 200,000. They are the ones that control the power inside of Iran. They're also the ones that export terrorism to Hezbollah, Hamas, and Houthis and others externally. Then there's also the besieged militia, which is about 700,000. We call them the pipe swingers. They're the ones that control the Iranian population of about 92 million people, not only in Tehran, but throughout Iran. They're the ones that kill Iranians in the streets, as we saw back in January. By the way, those numbers are up to about 32,000 killed by their own people. It would be from the hands of the besieged militia. It's their national police state and so forth, on and on and on. So should the conditions now be created whereby you perhaps see some elements of those, could be remnants of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. It could be others that are now perhaps turning away from the regime and would want to join forces with the Iranian people. You could have the introduction of perhaps certainly intelligence community, being Mossad or U.S. intelligence community, some modicum of special forces, but Iranian ground forces to enable that and so forth. So that's a long answer to a short question, but it would be very calculated. It would absolutely be from more not a hammer, but more of a surgical application of ground forces.
Last question here, and I could spend an hour with you. You're so smart at this stuff. But one of the things that Joe Kent said was that when he was on with Tucker Carlson is that maybe what we should have done is continue negotiating with Iran. In your opinion, and I don't know how much inside information you have, but these negotiations with Iran have been going on for a long time. And I've heard people say that basically what Iran was doing in these negotiations is really just trying to run out the clock. I mean, it would take a long time for them to respond to some of the smallest little things. And it just seemed like they were not necessarily negotiating in good faith. Do you have an opinion on that?
I do. I would tell you that we being the administration, the President of the United States, with Secretary of State Rubio and others, would also underscore that we went the last mile we possibly could with regard to these negotiations with the Iranians in terms of the how we wanted them to frankly capitulate on the future of the nuclear weapons development program that they've had for decades, by the way, and so forth. And so they were relentless in their pursuit of delay. Think of what Putin's doing against Ukraine. It's out of the same chapter of their playbook, is delay. Nothing new here. They have been delaying, using diplomatic delay tactics on, and finally at the point where, as they delay, what happens is they get closer and closer to being able to create a nuclear weapon. If they get their hands on a nuclear weapon, the entire calculus of the Mideast, in terms of U.S. national security interests and that of Israel, and absolutely the Gulf Arab nations, are at risk. Think in terms of if Iran had a nuclear weapon, they've already gone after Qatar and Kuwait and their oil fields and so forth, and attacked Saudi Arabia. Can you imagine what they would do with a nuclear weapon against their oil fields also? So it's an existential threat, not only to Israel, but to the Gulf Arab nations as well. We cannot allow that to happen. The stakes are too high, and that's why the president made a judgment with regard to Iran is at its weakest point on February 28th, politically, economically, and militarily. And the fact that Israel was in the fight, they went after the leadership right away, taking out the Ayatollah and other aspects of his leadership team. The time is right to join in on the fight and to continue and prevail with this. But there's going to be a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's happened in every military campaign we've had. Looking back on this one, I think the judgment was right and the president's judgment was correct with regard to kicking off this campaign in concert with Israel.
So much valuable information. Thank you very much, Lieutenant, I should say, General Dick Newton. People are asking me to ask you, and was your call sign Fig? I got 4 people on this text line that want me to ask you that.
There's another call sign. There's another retired general officer, General Lloyd Newton, a very dear friend and mentor of mine. His call sign was Fig. My call sign is Tiger. I was commander of the 1st B-2 Stealth Bomber Squadron at Wyman Air Force Base back in the day, and my call sign then was Tiger, and it kind of stuck with me.
You had, tell folks how many hours of flight, because you were in the Air Force?
Yeah, I was in the Air Force for 34 years.
How many flight hours did you have? Because you were like a pilot.
I am. I'm a command pilot, instructor pilot, and evaluator pilot. I have about 3,000 hours. I commanded the 1st B-2 Stealth Bomber Squadron. I was commander of the B-1 at Operations Group at Ellsworth Air Force Base in Rapid City, South Dakota, and I commanded a B-52 wing during 9/11 up at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota.
At some point, when things are a little less tense, I want to talk to you about Top Gun and how realistic that was, but not now because I'm out of time.
Okay, I've flown up in that airspace, so we'll have lots to talk about.
Oh, man, we got to do that. All right, very good. Thank you. And that is General Dick Newton on Super Talk 99.7. All right, I'm running so late, and I apologize, but he is such a wealth of knowledge. Joan, real quick, 40 westbound was closed in Lebanon. So
Still closed.
Still, any update on, because there was like a couple of different crashes there?
Right. So there's 2 crashes. Both involve overturned vehicles. One of them is an overturned tractor trailer. So, yes, it's closed. It's going to be closed for a while. 40 westbound between South Hartman Drive, that's exit 236, and I-840. So, great place to avoid, and there are ways around it. You'll need to use them today.
All right. Thank you, Joan. 7:57 on WTN. Got a lot more straight ahead. Dan Mandis here from Mark Spain Real Estate. Say goodbye to the stress that comes with showings, open houses, and costly home repairs. My friends at Mark Spain Real Estate, they are going to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. Now, one of their satisfied clients, Steve, said my experience with Mark Spain Real Estate was beyond 5 stars. Not only did I get an amazing offer on my home, he says, but we closed quickly as well. Says, I'm so appreciative of Mark Spain Real Estate. Now, Steve is not alone. Mark Spain Real Estate has over 13,000 5-star reviews. They sell more than 38 homes every single day, making them the most experienced real estate team in America. You can trust Mark Spain to provide the strongest cash offer in the industry and sell your home hassle-free. Call them 855-299-SOLD. Find out what the guaranteed offer would be on your home today. There's no obligation. 855-299-SOLD. markspain.com and start packing.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The director of the Rutherford County Library System facing possible termination for refusing to comply with the board's decision to relocate 132 books. Now, you'll remember last week the library system agreed to shift those inappropriate books for kids from the children's section to the adult section. These are LGBTQ themed books. Now, Luan James said in a letter to the board this week that she is ethically bound to uphold the First Amendment, and moving the books, she said, would violate that right for all county citizens.
Within an hour of her making that statement, the library board of directors chair called for a special meeting on this. Cody York says the executive director's refusal to implement a lawful directive of the Rutherford County Library Board constitutes insubordination, and that this warrants serious disciplinary consideration.
Channel 4's Jeremy Finley there. The meeting where her future is decided takes place March 30th, 5 p.m. at the Rutherford County Historic Courthouse. It is a public meeting. New this morning, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps spokesperson Ali Mohammed Nayani has been killed in strikes launched by the U.S. and Israel. Hours before his death, Nayani insisted that Tehran was still able to build missiles despite the U.S. forces' bombardment from Operation Epic Fury. We're learning more about a lockdown at a military base in Louisiana earlier this month and what caused it. ABC News says it reviewed a confidential briefing document that shows what was first thought to be a single drone was actually wave after wave of drones over the course of several days.
Between March 9th and March 15th, the document said Barksdale security forces observed multiple waves of 12 to 15 drones operating over sensitive areas of the installation, which houses the Air Force's Nuclear Command and B-52 bombers. A spokesman confirmed Barksdale Air Force Base detected multiple unauthorized drones operating in our airspace during the week of March 9th.
ABC correspondent Aaron Katursky, he says that those drones were unlike what is commercially available and were high-tech with a much longer range, and they are resistant to jamming. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Looks like stock futures are still slumping this morning. Dow futures are down 118. That's the latest news. Stick around for traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:05. And I got to tell you, the Force on Force training at the Glock store, I just took it. It is amazing. It is tomorrow. It is Saturday, March 21st, and I've done the training. Matt Murphy's done the training, and of course, Chris Hand has done the training as well. And basically what this training is, they call it a simunition exercise, and you go into what I would call real-life situations. And what it's really going to do is it's going to test your aim. It's going to test your judgment as well. And for me, it was a real eye-opener, because they're going to teach you when is the right time to shoot, when you're allowed to shoot, when you're not allowed to shoot. And it really is, I would say, not only is it educational, I did have a lot of fun. And Matt had a lot of fun. Chris had a lot of fun as well. It is going to happen tomorrow at the Glock store. And again, they call it their Force on Force simunition exercises. They put you in a simulated situation where deadly force may be necessary to save your life and, of course, someone else's as well. So again, I went through it. It was a lot of fun. I actually want to do it again. To find out more, I think they've still got a slot or two available. To find out more, go to shoot270.com, click on training, and then classes. That's shoot270.com, training, and then classes. This is, I would say, a once-in-a-lifetime, truly unique opportunity to find out if you are really ready. Glock Store is going to help you out. Again, shoot270.com, click on training, and then classes.
Okay, you've got 40 westbound still shut down. Now it's South Hartman Drive, exit 236 to I-840, exit 235. And the traffic center says that traffic is stopped all the way from Lebanon, Watertown, Sparta Pike. That's exit 239. It's two separate accidents, both of them involving overturned vehicles, and one side has an overturned semi. So careful in that area. Again, it's I-40 westbound side closed, South Hartman Drive to I-840. Also, this morning, you've got accidents on Highway 109 in Lebanon. The northbound side at Leeville Pike, 2 lanes are blocked. Eastbound 24, Old Hickory Boulevard in Whites Creek, an accident. And again, that's at Old Hickory Boulevard. Also, eastbound 24 in Whites Creek. You've got an accident at the Clay Lick Road overpass. One more in Hermitage, make that this morning, Old Hickory Boulevard at Lebanon Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN and Nashville's Morning News. Welcome on in to a Friday. By the way, the weather this weekend going to be a lot better than the traffic is right now. Goodness gracious. But your weather for this weekend, first of all, today, some clouds, a high near 80. Saturday, a high of 82. And on Sunday, highs in the mid to upper 80s under sunny skies. Appreciate you, again, listening to Super Talk 99.7. All right, there is an update on Nick Shirley and his exploits in California. I do need some video if I could. Sam, the Trump administration is now going after California and the massive fraud that Nick Shirley has shined a light on. Now, remember this now infamous exchange. I played this audio for you earlier in the week, but this was a part of what Nick Shirley filmed while he was in California exposing that massive hospice fraud.
Are you guys the hospice consultants?
Yes.
Oh, can we talk to you guys?
About?
I want to open my hospice.
You want to open a hospice?
Yeah.
Okay, what was your name?
My name's Nick, but I want to open up a hospice.
I understand, but we don't take care of that.
Can I get some information?
Do you want a number?
Yeah, or give me a flyer or something. All right, so they say they're open right now. They won't let us into the lobby. This is no way to conduct business. We are
They're also, by the way, standing out in the rain.
two entrepreneurs trying to open up our own hospice.
Soaked to the bone right now.
We were denied service by the potential fraudsters, and as we were leaving, one of the fraudsters started to leave from the back in a $200,000 Maybach.
We have a Mercedes-Benz driving out. Where can we open a hospice at? We'd like to open up a hospice. Get a Maybach just like you.
So obviously, this is looks really bad on the state of California, really bad on Gavin Newsom. And now, I've got this update here with more detail coming up, but now we're finding out that local media are basically vindicating because people are saying, oh, Nick Shirley, he's not a real journalist, right? Now, other journalists, mainstream journalists, Fox News and CBS, they're saying actually Nick Shirley is absolutely right. Here's a little bit more.
So what do you think about all this hospice fraud? Sir, you're in the Cybertruck, driving away, taking money from old people. Yet he's just driving away.
Yep, off he goes. And so one of the aspects of this story is that all these folks are driving these really fancy vehicles. And, you know, Nick Shirley, he's come under a lot of fire, as you can imagine. But you know what's fascinating is, and by the way, Gavin Newsom, we're looking at you. A lot of people talking about Nick Shirley and about how, again, stop me when you've heard this before, he's not a real journalist. And I will tell you that he is far more of a journalist than a lot of these so-called journalists that are out there. So you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in Somali daycares and hospice fraud as well. We also have found out now that even after it became public knowledge, Gavin Newsom did nothing about it. And now the big question is, will there be anything done about it? Dr. Oz is on the case now. Of course, you all know that he is the administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. He was featured in this piece on Fox News. But listen to how bad this really is.
The government $120 million in a single year, claiming to oversee 1,900 patients. With almost 2,000 hospice agencies, LA County has more than 36 states combined and 30 times more than either Florida or New York.
18% of the whole country's home health care billing is coming out of Los Angeles County. How is that possible?
And take a look at this map, a cluster of 287 hospice providers in a 2-mile radius.
287 in a 2-mile radius. There's like one building that had almost 90 in one building.
Some in strip malls, unmarked buildings, even a wrecking yard and vacant lot.
All of it is just paperwork. I could fill that out in Kazakhstan if I want and get a hospice license waiting for me.
I mean, people all over the country. Remember when people were talking about, how do you open up a Somali daycare? People are saying the same thing now about these hospice centers in Los Angeles. And apparently there's some mafia ties. People are saying that. So we've got more on this. CBS in L.A. is on the news. Details straight ahead. It is 8:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Okay, closed for crash investigation at I-40 westbound between South Hartman Drive and exit 235. Stop traffic from Lebanon Watertown area. Got a crash also in Lebanon, Highway 109 northbound at Leeville Pike. Whites Creek area, there's a crash with stop-and-go traffic from the Cheatham County, Davidson County line at I-24 eastbound at the Clay Lick Road overpass. Hermitage, there's an accident at Old Edgar Boulevard and Lebanon Pike. Ashland City, road work with one lane open at Sam's Creek Road south of Dry Creek Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Sam. So as far as your weather goes, we're talking about how nice of a day it's going to be today. Saturday, Sunday. Today, highs near 80. Saturday, high near 82. And on Sunday, sunny skies, mid to upper 80s for your high. Talking about Nick Shirley and what he is exposed and how now he is has been vindicated because not only, as you just heard, Fox News is saying, oh, yeah, the fraud that Nick Shirley is uncovering is absolutely happening. CBS News in Los Angeles, locally, they have uncovered this as well. They investigated all of this and found that it's called the Merabi Professional Medical Plaza in Van Nuys, California, which, by the way, I used to live in Van Nuys, California. Not a good place. Anyway, they found 89 licensed hospice companies, 89 in one building. And so they call this clustering, and apparently it's happening all over L.A. They say that there is no way there is a need for this many hospices when you look at the number of patients in the area. And again, this isn't from right-wing Fox News. This isn't from Nick Shirley. This is from CBS. Concerns about clustering appear in a 2022 California State Auditor's report, which found that Los Angeles County had experienced a 1,500% increase in hospice companies countrywide since 2010. I should say countywide since 2010. So again, that is Los Angeles County had experienced a 1,500% increase in hospice companies countywide, Los Angeles County, since 2010. That is 6 times more hospice providers than the national average relative to the country's elderly population. And in case you're wondering, this is like the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. LA is like this huge county. You've got like everywhere from Compton up to the San Fernando Valley. It's really big if you don't know the terrain in Los Angeles. They say that auditors said other warning signs for potential fraud include multiple hospices in one building, geographic clustering, low patient counts, high rates of terminally ill patients later discharged alive, excessive billing, and staff shared across multiple companies. Federal records show regulators visited multiple sites in this Merabi Plaza between 2021 and 2025. They found nearly, count them, 400 violations at 75 companies, those records show. So this is not just Nick Shirley doing a viral video. No, you've got, I mean, not that Nick Shirley's not legit, but you have other news organizations that are also saying, oh, yeah, this is actually happening. Nick Shirley is right. And, you know, when Gavin Newsom was basically, and we talked about this yesterday, if you remember, Gavin Newsom basically painted Nick Shirley as a predator. Remember that meme or that graphic that he put out that made Nick Shirley? He's got all these cameras on him, and it's Nick Shirley in animated form with all these cameras looking into a daycare and saying, can I see your children? Making him, basically look like a pedo. And so CBS News, Fox News, and other news organizations as well, this has been a thing for a long time in California. So just like in Minneapolis, what we're seeing is warning signs and indications that this has been going on for quite some time. Did Gavin Newsom and his Democrats in the state of California, did they do a damn thing? No. They didn't do anything. It's almost like the TVA. Think about this. Just go with me here. So the TVA, right? It really took John Rich and his massive social media presence and his, pointed, aggressive nature in dealing with the TVA before anybody saw any real progress in dealing with the unfair practices of the TVA, right? That was here in Tennessee. Well, in Los Angeles and in Minnesota, here comes Nick Shirley, same kind of a situation where you've got Nick Shirley coming in, and here's 22, 23 years old. Is that what Nick Shirley is? And he's got a camera and a social media presence, and he goes in there and he just blows the doors wide open. The Democrats knew this crap was going on, but really nobody else did until Nick Shirley. And so, again, it's the same thing that we saw and that we said about Minneapolis here in Los Angeles, which is, some media outlets did their jobs, but it really took Nick Shirley to really put a really bright spotlight on this whole thing. Yet, again, Gavin Newsom and other Democrats have been attacking Nick Shirley. Now, this was, Nick, I think this was last night, when he's talking about Gavin Newsom and his response to all of this.
Yes, the governor of California is an enemy to the people of California. He's literally working to support the fraudsters. Meanwhile, he could be working to expose the fraud.
Well, I would, with all due respect to Nick Shirley, he's wrong on one count. Gavin Newsom is not an enemy to all of the people in California. Remember, he's a big friend to the illegal aliens.
I mean, how stupid do you have to be to say, okay, let's go after the guy who's exposing the fraud. Let's not go after the fraudsters. That is what he's doing, what he's actively doing each and every single day when he makes out these statements, and all he does is blame the people who are showing the fraud. Why doesn't he say, hey, Nick, great video. How can we help?
Right. That's what I would say. Was wow, great video. How did you find this? Where did you go, and where are you going next so we can find somebody to go with you? Don't you think that would be a common response?
Exactly, because these tax dollars don't say right or left on them. They don't say Republican or Democrat.
Right.
Each tax dollar is a dollar for the American people, and when they go in and steal these dollars from us, they're not robbing just the liberal Democrat in California. They're robbing everyone. Yeah. And then the governor gets mad at the person for exposing the fraud. How crazy do you have to be to think with that logic?
Yeah.
Well, it's Gavin Newsom, so yeah.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
By the way, I was talking, Joe, and I was talking about CBS News and really vindicating Nick Shirley by backing up what he had reported.
Yeah.
I love. Did you see his response on the socials?
No.
He says, "Hey, at CBS News, good work. Glad to see news organizations with million-dollar budgets do some real journalism."
Hey, there's some big news out of CBS this morning.
What's that?
Today is the day that a good 15% of the staff is being cut. So, that's where Barry Weiss is carving a new way for CBS News. And apparently she's having some effect there. The real news is coming out of there. Some of the old-timers who, are never Trumpers.
Let's say it this way. Joan, some of the old-timers who are too belligerent to change their ways
are going to be axed today.
Well, you know what?
So
here's the question: are they going to replace those people, and who are they going to replace them with?
Yeah, I mean, that is a question. I don't know if it's budgetary cuts or if this is you're not in line with the way that we now think kind of cuts.
You mean
But,
doing actual journalism and not narrative peddling for the Democrats?
You would think. But, this is Barry Weiss's project. This is why they hired her. So I'm thinking that it's more like, this is how we think now. And if you're not in line, you're out. So I think that that's where this is going. And maybe that's reflected in what just happened with CBS News and this story.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, because remember, because that was a local CBS. That was CBS Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And remember, she came out, Joan, and she said, not only here at the network are we actually going to start doing journalism now, but what we're also going to do is we're going to ask the affiliates at the local level to do the same thing. All right, Joan, real quick, because I know we got like massive traffic problems, and I want to make sure that we cover what is happening on 40 westbound. So can you do us a real quick, not a real quick because it's long, can you give us a traffic update on what is going on right now on 40 westbound and anything else that people need to know?
Yes, so it's 40 westbound, closed still at South Hartman Drive, exit 236. But the traffic has stopped all the way back at Lebanon Watertown, that's Sparta Pike, exit 239. And drivers are going up and down the ramps this morning to try to get around that. These are overturned vehicle accidents. One of them is a tractor trailer that has overturned, and there is an unconfirmed fatality there now. So careful as you go on 40 westbound. Also, you've got an accident in Laverne on westbound 24. That is at Old Hickory Boulevard South. There you go. That's the most of it this morning.
All right. Thank you, Joan. And it is 8:26 on Super Talk. Dan Mandis here. I want to tell you about my friends at Contours. Now, we are now, is today the first day of spring? I think today is the first day of spring. Don't everybody answer at once. I think so.
I'm looking it up right now. Usually it's the 21st.
Okay. Maybe this weekend is the first day of spring. It feels like the first day of spring with, the temperatures going to be.
There you go.
Is today the first day?
Assistant says, yes, today is the first day of spring. How about that?
How about that? So,
Dan.
I'm right for once.
Dun, 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 dun.
I've actually, I put the text, the super text line on timeout today.
Oh.
I was getting a lot of hate today, so I've just said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. Somebody called me. What did somebody call me, Sam? What was it again?
Sam's not listening.
I asked you. No, he is. I asked him to. I asked Sam. I said, "Hey, Sam, can I say this on the radio?"
Oh, a goyim.
A goyim. Have you ever heard of a goyim?
No, I saw that text. What does that mean?
Well, it's clearly derogatory because he called me a warmonger.
Yeah.
Oh.
That means
somebody who is loving me some Benjamin Netanyahu.
I'll explain it at 8:35.
All right, fine. So you know what I did? And there's a couple of, all right, yeah, I'm done. And I put the super text line on hold. So not only is Sam on super triple double secret timeout, but also the super text line is today. So I'll check back in on Monday. But the point though, Joan, is that summer is now one season away. And so if you need to get that beach bod back, not you, Joan, just people generally speaking, if you need to get that beach bod back, you know what? That journey needs to begin right now with my friends at Contours. They can help you get it back with FDA-cleared red light technology. Now, Contours is going to help you target those areas that you hate, whether it is your belly, your arms, your legs, whatever problem area you have. They can solve that problem. No pain, no surgery, no downtime, just results. And as I've said, I usually fall asleep during my treatments. I know that they joke about me behind my back at Contours. Real men and women from Franklin and all across Middle Tennessee have been checking out Contours. They've been seeing real results. Now, this is a great deal for you. The first 10 callers right now get a special introductory price of $99. First 10 callers get that special introductory price of $99. And if you don't see the results you want, it is free. 615-236-9960. Call right now. 615-236-9960. ContoursLLC.com.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We are keeping an eye on the Supreme Court. There are some big opinions expected today, including the Voting Rights Act, bans on conversion therapy, campaign financing, and executive power. As for the president today, he'll present the Commander-in-Chief trophy to the U.S. Naval Academy football team. And then he takes off for Mar-a-Lago today, and he's expected to stay in Florida over the weekend. The Spanish language TV reporter from Nashville, taken into custody by ICE a couple of weeks ago, is back at home. Stephanie Rodriguez overstayed her visa back in 2021. She's from Colombia. Her lawyers claim that her detention was retaliation.
Rodriguez has done extensive reporting on immigration enforcement in Tennessee. Her attorneys claim ICE detained her in retaliation. The government denies that accusation. A federal hearing was held on Tuesday to determine whether her arrest was legal. The judge has yet to make a ruling.
That's News 2's Alicia Wemberly. We will keep following that story. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. And stocks have begun trading this morning, not looking good. However, the Dow Jones Industrial's down 110. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:35, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. From my place to shop for furniture and appliances, DT McCall's. Now, I have bought both from DT McCall's, furniture and appliances. Now, they're always looking for ways to save you money. I want you to check out their website. It is dtmccalls.com. If you need a washing machine, they've got the GE Energy Star Ultra Fast Combo right now. And with the rebate, you are going to save $800. Now, if you need a grill, they've got Louisiana grills at great prices for all budgets. And here's the bottom line with DT McCall's. If something breaks in my house, or if, my wife suddenly decides that she needs a new piece of furniture, first thing I do is go to dtmccalls.com. They've always got great deals on the best brands at dtmccalls.com. They've been doing this for over 100 years of treating people right here in Middle Tennessee. They've got 5 locations all across the state: Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com.
Down on 40 westbound at South Hartman Drive, exit 236 this morning. Traffic is jammed heading into that spot, and it's taking drivers up and down the ramps at South Hartman to get around it. Now, this is a couple of separate accidents. They are overturned vehicles. One of them is an overturned semi-truck, and we're hearing that there are fatalities involved in that. 24 West in Laverne, there's an accident, Old Hickory Boulevard South. Got another one in Hermitage on Old Hickory Boulevard at Lebanon Pike. And then in Ashland City at Sam's Creek Road, there's some road work this morning south of Dry Creek Road. Only one lane open. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:39, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, you are going to be heartbroken.
Why?
We have a special guest in the studio, and you're at home in your pajamas.
Who's the special guest?
We've got Wally from Wally's Bean Machine in studio. Wally, say hi to Joan.
Good morning. How are you?
Hiya, Wally. I met him, you know.
This is great.
Yeah, you did actually at the thing, and Chris at the event.
No, I met him in the break room one day.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
to see
right.
her, so yeah.
People line up to shake Wally's hand.
Yeah,
not mine, but Wally's.
Is his mic working?
Check, check.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, people line up to shake Wally's hand when he's in here doing the copy machine stuff.
Well, all right, so
We love Wally. The vanilla with espresso and milk. Mwah, chef's kiss.
You're more than welcome.
All right,
That's what I'm having right now as well.
So here's what's funny, and this is why I wanted it. 'Cause Wally's a really interesting guy because you have a couple of different businesses.
Correct.
You have a floating liquor bar company,
Correct.
which I'm sure Chris knows a lot about, and you also have, of course, Wally's Bean Machine. You don't drink liquor, and you don't drink coffee.
Correct.
So I it's like, wow. How do you know your product?
That's that's how you get successful, Dan. You never get high on your own supply.
Exactly, but it's kind of like, a Ferrari mechanic may not have a Ferrari, right? But he knows how to tune the Ferrari, right?
Okay.
I mean, makes sense, right? I mean,
That makes sense. Now, here's what's interesting, Joan.
Mm-hmm.
Wally, his action, because we've all gone, I'm sure you know, because you listen to WTN.
every day.
But you were inspired from an unfortunate incident that I had blocked out of my memory where, and Chris reminded me of it, 6 months ago when remember this, Joan?
When I broke the coffee pot?
When I broke the coffee pot.
Oh, right.
And left all the shattered glass there.
And all
for
the shattered
hours.
glass was on the whole thing, man.
Nobody was happy with him.
So Chris mentioned that, or one of you two mentioned it. And I was like, oh, yeah, man, that was years ago. Chris is like, that was 6 months ago. It's like, and I can't even go that low on your voice, but yeah, it was only 6 months ago. So you got the idea, Wally, to reach out to the station, and you and Chris connected somehow. And here you are now. It's been, what, about 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
It's actually been a month and 1 day.
Okay, a month and 1 day. So there you go. And I've noticed that we're all a lot happier.
Everybody is.
And Wally, there was a backup this morning, a 3-person backup at the Wally Bean Machine this morning. And Joan wasn't even here.
I love it.
So
that is great.
Dan
It's
was
doing
in
its
line.
job, right? So.
Dan was in line asking people this question.
Do you agree with President Trump? Thanks, Sam. I Elmer fudded Trump earlier today.
Twump.
I did. Listen, it's been a tough day. That's why I put the super text line on timeout.
Okay.
Do you agree with President Trump? So thank you for playing it yet again. You know what? I would like to say that was the worst moment of today's show, but I don't really know if it was. Anyway, based on the super text line, no. So, but what's funny is you were talking, Chris, about how we will carry with us the 30 seconds of the show that may have gone south, like me Elmer fudding President Trump. Do you agree with President Trump or whatever else it is that I shanked today? Somebody called me a goyim today, and I had to ask.
Let's go.
Yeah, I had to ask Sam what a goyim was.
Goy lives matter.
And could I say that on the air? And apparently a goyim is, Chris?
A non-Jewish person.
A non-Jewish person. So, I mean, I guess I am. I mean,
Typically,
whatever.
Being thought of as being placated by Israel or the Jews in general.
Whatever.
Interesting.
Okay. Anyway, so
I learned something today too. That's good.
That's it. That's
Yes,
what
I
happens
didn't-
when you listen to Nashville's Morning News.
That's why I listen every day.
You learn all kinds of stuff. All right, so, but this is what's fascinating, Joan. Wally is like Big Brother.
Yes, we didn't realize that we were
Being
also
spied on.
inviting in a tech overlord into
So is there a
the break
camera?
room.
No,
associated
but
with this? Okay.
no, but what he's got like, okay. Here's how we're gonna do this. Wally has a list of all of the drinks that people have been ordering from. Like, I guess, is it most popular, Wally, down to?
Well, it just does like the basic from like the menus. It just breaks them down what everybody's been drinking. So And it's it's.
Well,
it's
can I see the
interesting.
list real quick? Just let me see that real quick.
What's the most popular drink?
I want to see. I want to see if you guys can. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Sam, Chris, Joan, I've got the list. But Sam, you first. What do you think is the most popular drink on the second floor of Cumulus Broadcasting?
The French vanilla plus espresso plus milk.
Okay, Chris?
I'm going to go with the same because that's what I drink every day, about 3 to 4 times. Also, I add, usually I'm adding 2 additional shots of espresso.
Okay.
But since Cumulus has not gotten us more cups, I've only been able to do 1 additional shot of espresso the past couple days.
Okay, you know what? You can always get a bigger cup.
I've looked for a bigger
bring
cup.
your own.
Or bring your own. All right, Joan, what do you think? What is the most popular?
The Americano.
The Americano plain or like plus milk and all that?
Well, probably just. Well, nobody brings their own cream, so yeah, plus milk.
I bring my own cream, Joan, and people
I do
steal
too.
it. You know that's true.
I know.
So
That's your cream?
French vanilla plus milk plus espresso is the most popular drink here at Cumulus Nashville. The second most.
I can tell you why.
How many of those got drank in a month?
That would be. I'm reading the invoice here. Is that
203?
203.
Wow. I can tell you why.
Why is that, Joan?
Because that drink is not available in the machine that's downstairs.
Yep.
So all those salespeople and the marketing people and the others, they come upstairs. Others.
The others.
Joan
Second-class citizen, these people.
Yeah,
Joan
they
is
come
choosing not to
upstairs.
mention like managers.
It's the only time
the
we
corner
ever
office.
see. Right, it's the only time we ever see anybody.
What do you mean, you people?
You others.
You others.
Number 2 is Americano Bold, and that
There
is
you
at
go.
155.
That's my drink.
And hot chocolate plus milk, and I mean, just it goes on and on. So
The hot
you know what
chocolate, the hot chocolate with espresso is really good too.
it is.
Do you know what I do, Wally?
What?
When I first come in the morning, I get two shots of espresso and then the Americano
I love it.
and cream in it because I need that like a good goose in the morning.
And then she starts crashing by about 8:15.
Yeah.
You know, like
That's
like
when
in
I
the
go get more.
in the beginning of the show, she sounds like a record that's been sped up a little bit, and then by the end of the show, she's like this, and then she's got to get more Americano with her
It's
shots
great.
of espresso.
No, I think it's great. It's
My drink is Americano plus milk, but it looks like what is the least? Okay, what's the least? Wow, what's the least popular? Can you think about what do you think, Sam? Least popular?
Whatever you drink.
Oh.
Oh, jeez.
Man, it's tough in here.
All right, Chris.
I think the cappuccino is the least popular.
Okay, Joan.
Yeah. Is there a latte feature? No, lattes are probably pretty.
French vanilla is the least popuar drink.
So without cream or anything, or without
I guess,
an
yeah.
espresso.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you: when you see that, say for example, French vanilla, only 3 people or one person has had it 3 times, but you see that and you think, well, we got to put something else in there.
No, because I mean that's so the machine is set up to have like specific drinks per like the powders that we put in there.
Okay.
And so I can't just take it out. So the French vanilla with like the espressos and stuff like that, it just comes with it.
Have you tried to drink your coffee, Wally?
Yes, I have. It's just not. I know coffee's really bitter to me for some reason. I'm more
Well,
of a
that's why you
sweet
put
person.
milk in it, man.
I know.
And sugar.
Sugar.
How do we compare to other offices around Middle Tennessee that you service? Are we drinking more caffeine than your average office, or are we right in par with the rest of the caffeine addicts?
It just depends. So y'all are pretty. I would say like on the coffee end, y'all are probably like lower. Like most people just drink the black. They want to drink just coffee, right? They're not always into all the sugar drinks and stuff like that. So coffee is what everybody prevalently drinks. So yeah, but y'all are pretty. I mean, y'all are putting it down. I mean, it's y'all.
Okay,
are,
so
y'all are impressive.
So the first time I met Wally, he was like, I gotta get more money for this. You guys are putting me out of business.
It's true. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's just good.
Well, how long have you been doing this?
So we've been doing it. little over a year exactly.
Okay.
So we're still new. So
you are new, and how's business doing?
We're doing good. We've had a lot of feedback from just doing the radio. So yeah, we're making meetings and meeting people and trying to sign contracts and do some things. So yeah,
very
it's working.
cool.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're running an office out there, there's no better thing to do than have a Wally's Bean Machine in there for corporate morale.
Yes.
We're actually not kidding. I mean, it is really.
Yeah, it's been.
I was walking down the
amazing
hallway
to watch,
yesterday, and somebody on one of the other stations said, "Dan the man," and I thought, there's somebody that's had some espresso.
Now,
Either that or they just don't really know you.
I wonder, is there any correlation in like recently installed coffee machines and increases in plumbing problems in the same building? Makes people more regular.
I did notice the sign in the bathroom here. It says if there's a immediate plumbing problem to call this number. So I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Aren't all plumbing problems immediate?
If this fair.
I mean,
Very
come
true.
on. Well, very cool. Wally, thank you. And thank you for helping us out. How can people, you've got wallysbeanmachine.com, you've got a website. Is it wallysbeanmachine.com?
Yes, it's good. Yeah, that'll work. And then 615-406-5983 is it goes straight to me. So it doesn't go to like some call center or some weird, answering service. It goes straight to me. So, and then we schedule whatever you want.
Now, Joan, the best part of this meeting with Wally is I did find out that he does have that floating liquor bar company as well.
Is that next?
We've had that for like 7 years.
No, I mean, are you bringing it to the radio station?
Well, oh yeah. Well, I don't know. How does that work?
No.
Can we trade out a floating bar?
Joan likes her whiskey.
Likes her whiskey. Oh wow, it'll hold whiskey bottles. It holds shots glasses.
Can you put whiskey in coffee? I think people actually do that, don't they?
It's an Irish coffee,
sure.
right?
Irish coffee, sure.
Irish, yeah.
Is that going to replace the only 3 times ordered French vanilla whiskey? You know what? So
It'll rocket to the top.
So most bourbon is like a French vanilla on the palate. So
do you think we could sneak that in without telling the people on the first floor?
That's up to y'all.
Namely, the folks in the corner office.
We just put a little box on the side and put a little bottle in there. Give everybody a key.
They'd probably wonder how we got so friendly.
Well, he's got the flavor syrups. So what we do is we find the least used flavor syrup and we replace it with whiskey, and then everybody can have a couple pumps of that.
But don't tell anybody on the other stations. We can save all the whiskey for us because of all the formats, the stuff we have to cover. It's better if you're drunk.
It's true.
On both sides, listener and host.
We'll just put Dan's name on it. Everybody will stay away from it.
Sure. That's exactly right. Like everyone in my life. Anyway, Wally, thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
WallysBeanMachine.com.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
WallysBeanMachine@gmail.com. It's all great. And you're also a great American. You got a
You're a great
flag hat on.
I'm the most patriotic person in my family besides my dad.
So, oh, yeah? Well, like, just out of curiosity, where does that come from?
So, well, he flew E-2 Hawkeyes on the Forrestal. He was a Navy pilot. He flew with, he actually spent some time with John McCain actually an interesting story. He was on his way back to the Forrestal and he had engine problems. And so he turned back around, or he would have had to ditch his plane because it was already on fire.
Your dad?
No, the Forrestal was already on fire.
Oh, God, okay.
And so he would have had to turn. He just turned around, or he would have had to ditch his plane, and I may not be sitting there. So,
well, thankfully for us,
yeah,
thank God,
your dad was saved.
Yeah.
So
thank your dad for his service, if you would. Please.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely. I'm sure he may be listening right now. He listens to WTN religiously.
Oh, let's go.
Cool. Where's he from?
Hey, Dad.
We're all from Missouri and Nashville. So.
Okay, Missouri and Nashville. And is he in Nashville?
Yes.
Does he live here?
Yes, he's in Bellevue. Yes.
Nice. All right. Very good. Very good. Well, again, what's your dad's name?
It is Walter Dick Acuff III.
And so you're the fourth?
I'm the fourth.
So
nice.
One of the first things I asked Wally was his real name Wally, because I've never known a Wally. The only Wally. Do you know who's one of the most famous Wallies?
I'm trying to think.
Wally Moon used to play for the Dodgers. Used to hit moon shots over the. Maybe not.
He's going to go by his story.
This is how you know Dan is the best interviewer in all of Middle Tennessee. Who's the most famous Wally? Go. Whoa.
Like a deer in headlights.
Hard-hitting questions.
That's awesome.
All right, whatever. Moving right along. All right, Wally, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Chris, what's coming up next?
All right, we're gonna talk about the SAVE Act. We'll talk about updates in Iran, and we're going to dive in on the California fraud.
All right, very good. And Joan, what's coming up in the news at 9?
We'll tell you why a local teacher's been arrested, and also Tennessee is front and center in a new deal between the U.S. and Japan. Those stories at 9.
All right, got a lot more straight ahead. WTN.